December again, I can't believe it. Whatever happened to the rest of the year? It went by so fast, I barely did see it. Now I'm calling all angels high, if you are there, help me find the Christmas spirit again. The Christmas spirit again. That warm place in my heart that was there from the start. I want that Christmas spirit again. I find myself wandering downtown, window shopping, listening to the sound from some street choir caroling through the air, and the smell of the big Christmas tree in the square. Here comes the Christmas spirit again. That Christmas spirit again. And one place in my heart that was there from the start, from the start. Here comes the Christmas spirit again. That Christmas spirit again. One place in my heart that was there from the start. You know I'm trying to tell you, my friend, I found the Christmas spirit, the Christmas spirit again. I found that Christmas spirit, that Christmas spirit again.
It might not be no crossroad, but it's sure enough for more. Like left to LA, or right
We'll
to
just cut
New
this
York.
back here just a little bit, and then maybe we'll crank it up again. But anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, you're listening to the George Espenlaub Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. It's different here. We have two goals in mind. One is to make you smile. If we can make you laugh, we'll really be glad. The other is to make you just as goofy as the rest of us are around here. And I'm telling you, there's a gang. I was telling Claudio, a lot of people come to the Funny Farm. Not many of them leave. And if they do leave, It don't take long. Their relatives, friends, acquaintances, they notice the difference right away, and they ask them, "Where have you been?" But we're glad. We're happy that you're with us tonight, whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world. We're delighted to have you. We have a very interesting show tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So come on in, put your comments up. We'll share them with everybody. Ask questions if you have questions. Don't be afraid to come in. So sit back. You won't go to sleep, I promise you. Sit back and enjoy the ride. And we'll get this thing started here in just a minute or less.
Feels like I'm straight down the middle. How can I tell which way to go?
That's the way I am most of the time, Claudio. Split down the middle.
There you go.
I don't know which direction I'm going. What was it before we were on the air? You used that word, discombobulated.
Discombobulated.
That's me right here. That's me. George discombobulated Espenlaub. But nonetheless, I'm happy being that way. I've been that way all my life. I guess I'll just stay. It's too late to change now.
There you go. It's working. It's working.
It's working. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us tonight. Let me flash some of these buttons around here and see what I can blow up and get right. We have with us tonight Claudio. How do I say it? Reilsono?
Reilsono. Not bad. Reilsono. Yeah.
Okay. The head baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon University out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he is that. We put part of his resume up on the show page today. And there's there's more where that came from. I'm just running out of room, Claudio, but I
good thing.
I put up there what we could get up there. And then when we put the scheduled thing for the live stream up there, I put just about as much as I did the first time. So we're here, and we want you all to come in. A lot of people will sit back and watch without coming into the doors. But we want you to come on in, say hi, be a part, participate with us, and we'll all be happy when it's all said and done. Claudio, I guess the best way that we could start this thing off is tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm the head baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon University. I'm going into my 15th season. Absolutely love it there. Love my players. It's a great school, and had some great seasons there. Had some tough ones here and there. We won't talk about those, but love coaching. This is my 36th year of coaching. I started off when I was 18 years old as an assistant coach at Quaker Valley High School, my alma mater. Was head coach there at 23. Then went on to coach at Penn State Beaver. Was head coach at 1990. I was 25. We won a collegiate championship. Went to coached at some other schools, and in 2001, a dream of mine was always to be in professional baseball. A guy named James Gamble, who is the owner of the Global Scouting Bureau, hired me in January of 2001, and I'm the general manager and professional baseball scout with the Global Scouting Bureau since then. I'm still there. I absolutely love James and love the company, and I do a lot of things. I have a podcast. I do a couple TV shows here in Pittsburgh. I'm a host of a show called Pittsburgh's Ring Talk. It's a boxing show. Then I'm co-host of a show called Steel City Sports World. Do some boxing announcing, some speaking, part-time heart surgeon. I do all kinds of things.
Let me ask you a question. What do you do in your spare time?
I also own a landscape business. I look for more things to do. As a matter of fact, I really do. Like today, I had a meeting with an NBC affiliate here in Pittsburgh, WPXI, and we're looking at making some documentaries that will have impact on people. One of the subjects will be me. I enjoy doing that. And then, of course, I'm married now for since 98 to 21 years. My wife, Linda, who I've known since 1987. And then we have a daughter, Ida, named after my mom, who's 18 and a freshman at Pitt. She's also in the color guard. So, you know, I do a lot of things, George, but the good thing about it is I still get to spend time with my family, and I've never missed one of my daughter's events, not one. And I just told somebody today, I'm the type of person who wants to have his cake and eat it too. By that I mean, I want to do all these things. I want to coach and scout and do TV and speak and all that. But at the same time, I also want to spend time with my family, and I've been able to do that. And I so I think sometimes there's 26 hours of the day for me, and I'm usually working about 24 of them. But it's all good. I'm very grateful.
You're like me. I sleep fast. So
Yeah, right. I like that.
yeah,
I sleep fast. Right.
I sleep fast. I've been doing that all my life. I sleep fast.
Right.
There's my good buddy out of South Jersey, Mr. Lou Balls. It's good to have you, Lou.
Hey, Lou.
You was telling me earlier this afternoon that the house that you're sitting in now is the house that you grew up in. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, again, I've been here from day one. You know, I had a fantastic home life here with my mom and dad. I had the best parents in the world. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I won an award. And first thing I said was, if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, you know he didn't get there alone. And without my parents, I guarantee you, absolute 1000%, I would not have the life that I have. I would not have accomplished the things that I've accomplished. I mean, obviously, I had good teams and people to hire me, and the support of my wife and daughter, obviously. But my parents were the foundation. They started it, and I just stayed here. You know, my mom passed young. She was only 48. My dad needed me around, and I was more than happy to stay with him and take care of him and help him with work and whatever else he needed help with. And my wife was unbelievably understanding and accepting, or whatever you want to call it, that she wanted to stay here as well, and raise my daughter here. She walked the same footsteps that I walked. And geez, I just, as I said, my prayers anymore consist of just thank you, and that's it. But I live in a great town in Swickley, Pennsylvania, about 13 miles outside of Pittsburgh, and you know, I'm very grateful. Love it here.
Tell me a little bit about how you got into coaching.
Well, really, how I got into baseball. You know, my mom and dad, Olindo and Ida Reilsono, were born in Italy, and they weren't into baseball. They my dad loved boxing. My mom loved soccer and boxing. So I was not introduced to baseball until August 19th, 1973. My uncle used to work at Three River Stadium in a place called the Allegheny Club, which was a restaurant inside the stadium, and you can see the field, the game. So he brought me to the game, and as we approached Three River Stadium, my eyes got really big because I'd never seen anything so big in my life. Then he took me to the Allegheny Club, and I still remember this. I can still smell the scent of that elevator and walking up to the Allegheny Club. And then there was a beautiful picture of Roberto Clemente to the right as soon as you open up the elevator. And I knew who he was, but I didn't know who anybody else was. Then as I'm walking through the hallways, there's all these pictures of former Steelers. And there was a picture of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. And then I get to see the field through these glass windows. Then he takes me down to the locker room. And I see these big guys wearing these bright white uniforms, having a fun, joking around. And something's kind of stirring up inside of me. Then we go outside to the field, up this ramp through the dugout, and I see this big scoreboard, and it's 58,000 seats. It was empty. It was about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. It was me, the grounds crew, and I'm just looking around. I'm saying, wow, what is this? And this is before the game even started. So then we watched the game, and I remember I didn't say a word to anybody. Or on the way back, I got home, and there was an exact spot in this house where my dad said, "Did you have a good time?" I said, "I did, but I think I know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life." He said, "What's that?" Now remember, I was 8 years old. I said, I want to be in professional baseball. And without a blink of an eye, he said, okay, if that's what you want, then me and your mom will do everything we can to give you every opportunity in the world to make your dreams come true. And my mom said, as long as you're good in school and you're a good boy and all that kind of stuff, we'll be there to support you. And George, they kept their promise. And here I am. But I got to tell you a quick story. I did a speech a couple weeks ago, and the speech title was "Things Can Happen in Life."
Mm.
So as an 8-year-old kid, I didn't know who any of these guys were, but the pitcher, his name is Jim Rooker, who's a very good friend of mine to this day. And not only is he a friend, but he also has done some scouting work for the company that I'm with. The first baseman's name was Al Oliver, who he and I were inducted into the same Hall of Fame together a few years ago, and he's a friend. The second baseman's name was Rennie Stennett, who is a good friend of mine, and he invited me to the 1979 reunion party they had a few months ago. Then the left fielder was Willie Stargell, who I won a Willie Stargell Award a few years ago. So if you'd have told that 8-year-old kid that those things would have happened, and someday you're going to be friends with these guys, and someday you're going to play in celebrity golf tournaments with these guys, or someday these guys are going to be on your show or shows, so what are you talking about? But that's what I try to tell kids. Things can happen in life if you work hard, you stay dedicated, you rise when you fall, because you're going to fall. And yeah, that's where it is. And I'm very grateful. Like I said, I'm thankful every day, every second of the day. But I played high school baseball. I'm sorry. And then I went to college, but I got hurt. So then I talked to my old high school coach, Rich Woznicki. He said, "Why don't you come on the staff?" So for 5 years, I was a volunteer assistant at my old high school. Then I got to be head coach at age 23, as I said. And then from there, it went from there.
Wow. You mentioned Three Rivers. That brings back some memories. We were talking this afternoon. I go on. I don't know if it's unfortunate or it's fortunate, but I go all the way back to Forbes Field. And one of the, and I don't know why this is, Claudio, but one of the things that really stick in my mind after all these years, at Forbes Field, you had these big pillars everywhere.
Right.
And so you'd always be going like this if you were around that pillar. So you'd always be moving this way. But I got to see some of the greatest ball players in history.
Sure did.
I mentioned to you Lou Burdett, Warren Spahn, Clemente, Mays, Aaron. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I remember going to a clinic at the YMCA in Altoona, Pennsylvania, when Dick Grote was the shortstop after he came from St. Louis. He was holding a clinic. And I can still see him today in my mind's eye, like he's over there, and I can see me sitting there on the floor. I was just a young kid, and I could see him. He had a base laying there on the floor, and he was showing us how to turn a double play and how to square it off and so on and so forth. I could see that just as plain as day. So, yeah, I can picture an 8-year-old boy with these things going through his mind. And then I look at the man that's sitting here tonight, and I think every youngster in America, if they could only grasp what the man's saying and get everything in its proper place, it can happen to everybody or to anybody that's willing to put forth the work.
I told these kids a couple of weeks ago, there's nothing special about me. I mean, you mentioned Clemente, who was an unbelievable talent, or you see a Michael Jordan or a Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. They all worked incredibly hard. But, with me, there's nothing special about me. I'm just, I just didn't give up. I had a dream. I had a goal. And as I said, got knocked down a bunch. Got a ton of no's, but I was persistent, and it was scary, and then on top of that, as much support as I had from my mom and dad, which I had unbridled support from them. They were always there for me. But there was some other people, family members, that were not so supportive, and that made the road a little bit harder with their comments, or even some people that I worked with or worked for made the road a little slippery. Um, but I said to myself, as important as my mom and dad were in the motivation of me trying to make that dream come true, those people who were against me, like if my parents were right here, those people were right here, because I was not going to let them win. It isn't that they didn't believe in me, George. It's that they didn't want it to happen,
Right.
and it hurt because I cared for some of those people. But they motivated the hell out of me, and but that's why I tell kids, you're going to have some people support you. You're going to have people not support you, and you have to listen to both. Make sure that they both stick in your head.
Right.
The ones who love you and support you, do it for them. The ones who don't, do it in spite of them.
Right.
And they say your worst enemy can be your best ally, and that's something that stuck with me. And here's where things are. And I had a lot of support too. Like I said, my old high school coach, Rich Woznicki, gave me my first shot. A guy named Larry Polochek, who was a coach at Community College of Beaver County, was a tremendous help to me. Ed Driscoll, who coached at Quigley Catholic High School, was a tremendous help to me. And of course, James Gamble, the owner of the Global Scouting Bureau, gave me the break of a lifetime. And so I've been lucky.
There's always going to be those people that sit on the sideline and say, "Nah,
Yeah,
you can't do that."
yeah,
My grandmother was about, I don't know, 4'9". She's just a little bitty lady.
yeah,
She raised 8 kids. 5 of them was boys. And she used to tell me, she'd say, "Georgie," and she'd take that little finger and shake it at me. "Don't you ever let anyone tell you that you can't do something.
yeah,
I don't care what they say. They're not going to do something themselves, and they don't want nobody else to do something. So
right.
you just don't pay them no mind, and you go ahead and do it." So,
Yeah, well, the thing about that is that's extremely true. But the people that were the biggest thorns in my side were doing well. They
yes,
were doing well. It isn't like, and I never bragged about anything. I had this goal, I had this dream, and that was it. But they just didn't want it to happen. For whatever reason, uh, that's just the way they are. Some people are just sick, to be honest with you. But if you listen to songs or watch movies, there's always a good guy and there's a bad guy,
yep, yep,
And but looking back on it, George, I'm glad I had those bad guys. Not that I'm perfect, because I'm far from it. But I've never told somebody, I never busted their chops and said, "Oh, you can't do this." I try to be supportive
hmm
uh, with things, and I've had some great friends who were supportive of me. My cousin Chris, my two of my best friends, Vince Kaplak, Nick Kaplak, Rick Mitchell. These guys, Eric Jackson, Laurie. These guys have had dreams and goals that they were always supportive of me, and I was supportive of them. And I've also been very lucky to have a lot of people have impact in my life that were pretty big names in sports, that many of them were friends, and they were always there to support me. If we have time, we can talk about them whenever you want. But and that was very important to me. That was very important to me. And here, and like I said, I'm grateful for where things are.
How big a school is Carnegie?
10,000 people. It's not a big school at all. But I always say it is an Ivy League school in Pittsburgh, because it's tremendously, it's hard to get in, hard to stay in. But when you graduate, you write your ticket. I mean, and I've had just an unbelievable, fantastic group of young men to coach, that in the past week, ironically, I've gotten some nice texts and emails, um, saying how I helped them with some of my sayings or some of my actions or whatever. And that means a lot, because, you know, you want to have impact on them. I always say, I want to be able to help you more than just on how to hit a fastball.
Right.
Okay. I give them experiences that I've had in life, good and bad, and how I navigated. And hopefully they can use those guidelines to navigate through their life. And I've gotten some nice comments about that, and that means the world to me. That means the world to me.
Now you have been there, what, 15 years?
Going on my 15th year, yeah. Yeah.
So you've had quite a few graduating classes.
Yeah, yeah, they've all graduated. Every player. I mean, I'm not gonna. You know how sometimes in college basketball or football, this guy has a 68% graduation rate. Well, I have 1,000%, and trust me, it's not because of me. These guys are highly intelligent, and they put a ton of work into it. And again, just a great group of guys.
I read somewhere in this great big resume that you signed 62 players to pro contracts around the world.
Through our company, yes, with the Global Scouting Bureau, which has assisted in well over 2,800 player signings. The players that we mentioned were guys that I physically saw, and we placed in different leagues. Now you're obviously going to place more players in the independent leagues and overseas because there's more of that level player.
Right.
But we've had a lot of success. It's a great company, um, led by again James Gamble, who in my opinion is the best at what he does. He knows the game inside and out. He knows all ages and colleges, and he's just tremendous. And I've learned a lot from him, and it's just been an unbelievable. If I talk about him too much, I get emotional because he gave me the break of a lifetime, and it's been a blessing and a great company. And it's hard to make it in professional baseball,
Hmm.
but I coined the term years ago when you try out for why try out for one team when you can try out for all of them at once. And that's what happens when you come to the Global Scouting Bureau because we have contacts all over the world, and we utilize those contacts to get players signed. And we've been able to make a lot of dreams come true.
Now this professional baseball scout,
Mhm.
that's you with Global Scouting World Bureau,
Mhm.
and that's their website, protryouts.com.
Yes, sir.
I went there after we talked this afternoon.
Okay.
That's a pretty cool website. What what does that mean? Pro tryouts. When you go to that website or when you hear that, what does that consist of? What does it mean?
Well, we've changed our model over the years, which any successful business is going to have to be nimble. They're going to have to adjust because if you stay the same way, you're probably going to fall behind. And there's a lot of companies that pop up, and good, good for them. We don't worry about competition, but they don't last long. We've been around since 1998. As I said, I've been with the company since 2001. But we used to run tryout camps all over the country. Rhode Island, California, New York, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Florida, you name it. We've had tryout camps, and players used to come to us. We would evaluate them and then disseminate the information to teams, or teams would call us, and that's how we got people signed. Now we've changed the model because, for different reasons, that model for the past several years wasn't going to work. So what we've done now is we still have people send us their videos and information. And as a matter of fact, James just got back from the Dominican, and he scouted some players, and he's going to bring them back, house them, and we're going to try to get them signed. And I'm going to go sometime in January, February to the Dominican and do the same thing. We're going to scout players and get them signed to major league, most likely major league organization, because these players are good. I'm sure some of them are going to go independent, but that's how we do it now. We get tons of videos and referrals, and we check these guys out. We have scouts all over the country. We get them looked at, and we try to get them signed.
When you're recruiting for Carnegie, what are you looking for?
Well, to be honest with you, it's so hard to get in and so hard to stay in. I have scout friends of mine call me and say, Claudio, I got this guy. He's hitting 375. He runs a 6.860, or he's throwing 85 plus. Wait a minute. What's his GPA? What are his SAT scores? So to be honest with you, I can go scout cover the country. But as I said, it's hard to get in, hard to stay in, but it's a fantastic school. So what do I look for? First thing I look for is what kind of person he is. That's the first and foremost. I do not want somebody. I tell my guys all the time, when if practice is at 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever. Excuse me. I don't want you guys to say, "Oh man, I got practice at 3 o'clock. I got to put up with Claudio." I don't want that. Nor do I want to say, "I got practice at 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever time, and I got to coach this guy." And oh man, I don't want to see him. I don't want that. These 4 or 5 years go quick. Life goes quick. I'm not going to spend it, nor do I want them to spend it in a negative situation. I want good people first and foremost. The old saying in real estate is the three most important things in real estate are good location, good location, good location. I say the three most important things in life and business are good people, good people, good people. And I have great people there. And so first thing I look for is the person. Second thing is obviously look for ability. I'm a stickler. I also do a ton of hitting camps and hitting lessons. And you and I talked before the show about being confident and cocky. I'm not being cocky. I'm being very confident. I don't think there's anybody better than me that teach hitting. And I would go up against anybody when it comes to hitting. So I'm very particular what I look for in hitting. Then obviously the regular tools. Does he have an arm? Can he run? Does he get a good jump on the ball defensively? What kind of swing does he have as a pitcher? I don't care what kind of mechanics they have if they're being successful. They can throw the ball behind their back. They can hold the bat 10 feet up in the air. If they're getting triples, keep doing it. I don't believe in you do things my way. No, let's do things like when I teach hitting. Let's look at you first, see what you do well, see if you need anything tweaked, if anything, and let's go from there. Too many people, so you have to do it my way. The name of the school, my way. There is no my way. But obviously look for tools. You look for soft hands. I've been around it long enough, and I've been around good people that would teach me, that taught me things. And I've been a student of the game since I was a little kid. And I'm lucky enough to have access to former major leaguers. And I talk to them about it from the 70s and 80s who know what they're talking about. And so it doesn't take long to see if a player can play and on what level.
Let's talk some more baseball. Let's talk about some of the changes that you and I have seen over the years. Some not so good, maybe some okay. What are some of the changes that you have seen coming into baseball now that you didn't see when you was a young fellow?
Don't like the pitch counts. Don't like the pitchers coming out after 5 innings, whether he's pitching. Now, if he's hurt, if he's wild, if he's getting hit hard, take him out.
Right.
But I don't like all the pitching changes. 6, 7 pitchers a game. I don't like, to be honest with you, you can see it takes a quarter of a second to see where the hole is on a hitter. And what I mean by hole, I don't mean necessarily what kind of pitch he can't hit or can hit. It's the location. And you see these guys teeing off. These pitchers are just firing back and throwing it right down the middle or inside. And these guys are hauling off and trying to kill the ball, uppercutting, and they're trying to hit it 500 feet. But there's a hole on the outside part of the plate. You are a major league pitcher. I'm pretty sure you can hit those spots, but they don't hit them. I don't.
Every now and then in our area, and you know what? It won't happen during the daytime. And it hasn't happened for, I don't know, month and a half, 2 months. But every now and then, Comcast has a problem in our area.
Okay.
They just go away, and then they come back again. So I apologize for that.
That's okay. But I remember where I left off. I have a talent. I fall asleep in the middle of a conversation sometimes, and I wake up 10 minutes later, and I'm back at the spot where I left off. That's what I've been told.
Okay. Let's pick up where we left off.
But, like hitting, everybody elbow up, squash the bug, hips, or hit the lower half of the ball to create backspin or keep your hands inside the ball. they have everybody has their philosophies, and I don't believe that they're let the ball travel deep. These things don't work. Okay, now the elbow up, if you do it naturally, terrific. If you squash the bug naturally, terrific. But how about if your back foot kicks up, like mine or like Clementi's did? Okay, then you're going to tell somebody to nail their foot to the ground? No. But too many of these coaches, you have to do it their way, or whoever the flavor of the month is in Major League Baseball. He bat like when Pujols was the flavor of the month. All these coaches wanted their players to bat like Pujols. Well, it's hard to bat like Pujols. You might not be comfortable doing that. We've all tried to emulate players that we like, okay? But you have to find out who you are. So I'm not crazy about that. And, I don't see very many good bunters anymore. There's guys with some pretty good speed that they don't know how to steal a base. There's a lot of things. And the other thing, too, is the personalities. There's not one guy like a Reggie Jackson or Ricky Henderson or a Dave Parker or a Lee Mazzilli. There's a lot of guys who had personality, not necessarily big talkers, but they would make basket catchers, or they would wear a lot of wristbands or whatever the case was, but they drew you to them. They were attractive to watch. It's a little bit different. Society is different, but so there's a lot of things that it's just not the same as it was. And even the pitches. I mean, I grew up, there was a lot of big time curveballs and sliders, and not just guys rearing back and firing the ball. There was guys who pitched, not just try to throw the ball through the wall.
Right.
And those guys, they would not forget about the Hall of Famers. I'm talking even the second tier guys who used to win 15, 16 games. Look at their complete game numbers, 15 complete games, 18 complete games, and they pitched forever. So there's a lot of things that, that I'm not real in favor of.
I was telling my grandson, I have 5 grandsons, but I was telling one of them not long ago when we was talking about pitching.
Yeah.
And I said, look at the statistics. And we got on the internet, and I said, look at the complete games these guys threw. I mean, that's from 1 inning to the 9th inning.
On 4 days rest.
Yeah, complete games. Now look, I said when you're watching baseball, they're talking about, well, if I can get 5 out of them.
I know. I don't.
If I can get 6 out of them, and then it's got to the point now they're starting games with their bullpen guys, and
they're trying to get too cute.
Yeah,
they try to get too cute. Why would you sign if a guy's a starting pitcher, you don't trust your starting pitcher who's making $15, $16 million a year. You have to get a bullpen guy, and they piece him for 1 inning, and they put another guy in for 2 hitters, and and they want to speed the game up. That's how you speed. Now there's a rule that came out. I don't think it came out yet, but they're discussing it right now. The second, as a matter of fact, about a pitcher has to throw to at least 3 hitters. I don't like that either, because how about if he's getting bombed? Okay, this first guy hits a home run, the second one gets. But these managers, and what it is, it's a copycat league. Sports are copycat. In football, when the shotgun came out, everybody used it. When the wildcat, everybody used it. The run and shoot, same in baseball. So if somebody tomorrow started, like they started with that opener, I think they call them, the closer opens, then other teams started to do it. And they have these guys with the analytics. I'm not crazy about that. And a lot of the coaches have, when they walk into the office, the lineup is already made out for them. Go do that with Billy Martin, Dick Williams, Chuck Tanner, Danny Murtaugh, Whitey Herzog, Lou Piniella, Tony La Russa, you can go on and on. Those guys, some would have laughed at it, or Billy Martin would have come after you. Okay. So they get a little carried away, and I'm not crazy about that stuff, but it's the way it goes.
How about
I run my team the way I want to run it. I don't pay attention to all that stuff.
One of the things that really drives me about half batty, although I'm already that way, is when they put that, what's it called? The SW, whatever. Anyhow, how far the ball went.
Launch angle and spin ratio. I know, yeah.
That launch angle. Oh, that just goes through me 6 ways from last Sunday. Uh, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's got this launch angle,
Which creates more strikeouts.
which
I don't know
yeah,
about 2019, but 2018 there were more strikeouts than hits. Think about that. Think about that.
that's a shame. Uh, I remember playing small ball.
Yeah.
You want to bunt the guy over. You got the guy on second base. And here's another thing, Claudio. Oh, I mean, I scream at the television. My wife of 51 years will say, "Won't you settle down? It's on TV. They can't hear you."
Right.
I get red in the face. I stand up. I break out into a sweat. This just blows me away. Number one, a guy's on second. A guy can't hit to the right side.
Yeah.
They put this big shift on, and
Oh my God, I know.
you got a field
Yeah.
that you could drive 3 Mack trucks through.
Right.
And this guy, left-handed or right-handed, it makes no
Yeah.
difference. He can't hit the hole. I don't know where.
Do you remember the name Richie Hebner?
Yes.
Richie Hebner played for Pittsburgh, Philly, Detroit Mets, Cubs. He was a dead pool hitter. And I just looked on YouTube at a random game, the Mets against the Phillies, 1978. Now, the game prior, they said Richie Hebner went 4 for 5. Now, they had a shift back then, too. People think they just invented it.
Mm-hmm.
But what Richie Hebner did was he bunted one. He had 3 hits to the left side. Guess what happened the next day? They didn't play a shift on him anymore.
Right.
And another thing that I forgot to mention that bothers me, and I won't mention the team or coach or anything like that, but this particular team was playing in the playoffs. So they asked the coach, what's your game plan against this particular pitcher? He said, well, we want to get him out of the game quick. So we want to take the pitch count deep. So we're going to go up there and take pitches, get his pitch count up. The other team will take him out and they'll bring in their bullpen. The problem with that is the starting pitcher didn't walk anybody. And the second problem with that was the bullpen was damn good. So this team lost that game. They got blown out. I don't understand what happened to, and I heard Johnny Bench talking about this a couple of days ago on an old interview. If the first pitch is good, swing at it because you don't know how many pitches you're going to get that are good.
Right.
The game is it's overthought. It's overthought. And there's another particular organization that their minor league system, if your best pitch, George, on an 0-2 count, a 1-2 count is a slider, you're not allowed to throw that slider. You have to throw some other pitch. And I just don't get it. I don't want to knock, because I deal with these teams, so I don't want to knock too many people.
Right.
I still love the game and all that, but I don't know where these things come from. And the older guys who knew the game inside and out, the physical part of it, that's kind of getting pushed out. Now it's, the analytics of everything, and numbers are very important, and they're great to help. And there's no other sport that's more important to numbers as baseball. But that's just the way it is. But maybe I'm an old dinosaur. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of us dinosaurs lumbering around out here. Just the analytics alone, I'm thinking, my goodness gracious, you got numbers for this. I don't know what half of them are anymore. WAR and all these other things. What we were concerned with was your batting average.
There you go.
Could you bunt?
Yeah.
Could you hit it in the hole? Or could you hit it to the right side? Or could you hit it to the left side? Wherever it needed to go.
Yeah.
I watch guys now that's playing Major League ball. It just causes me to spit sideways sometimes. 197 batting average.
Yeah.
238. But yet they'll put this other figure up here, whatever that thing is, on base percentage or whatever. It's higher. So they look at that. There's so many things. And it's a blessed old game. It tears me up, and I know there's other people out there too. It just tears me up to see what's going. when I watch people trying to bunt, that's another thing that makes my face
Okay.
red.
Yeah.
We used to spend hours, sometimes a whole practice, just bunting.
No question. We used to play a game, who would hit the shortest bunt,
Yeah,
or even Pepper. Pete Rose used to he used to play Pepper every day. I used to as a kid. Now there's signs on the fences, no Pepper.
no pepper.
I don't know why, but but again, you adjust, and that's just the way it is. So you adjust, and you still evaluate your players with your eyes, and then let them do with it what they want, and you go from there.
So the players at Carnegie, they're not recruited. First, they have to make the grade to get into the school,
Right,
and
right,
then they come out and play baseball.
right.
Wow, that's a lost
Yeah,
art anymore.
yeah. But
And
you know what? I had guys who loved playing, and again, I've had some fantastic people uh, play for me, and again, they have made me incredibly emotional many times. And I was just telling this story a couple of days ago. In 2000, the game was in 2014. We have a fall season as well, and it was a back and forth game. We had to win this game, and our season carries over to the spring. And if we win, we were in first place, which was very important to us, and because we were going to be a better team in the spring. So we were winning this game. The other team comes back, and I was kind of running out of pitchers. So my players said, "Don't worry, coach. We're going to win this game." This one kid said, "I want to pitch." I said, "Darren, you were just catching. You pitched yesterday. You're catching today." He says, "No, I want to pitch." Then he said, "We want to win this game for you." And I'll be honest with you, George, for an inning, a good solid inning, um, I didn't make one call. I wear sunglasses when I coach. I was in tears. Everything was blurry. I know I made some calls, I guess, but I don't know what I did. We win the game. And I remember I couldn't speak to the team because that meant so much to me. I have the game ball back there, as a matter of fact. But when you have kids that age, men that age, boys that age, whatever you want to call them, and they say that to you, it just means everything to you. And like I said, I mentioned a guy named Vince Kaplak and Nick Kaplak. I coached Vinny back in 1988. I was 23. He was 17. And I coached Nick a couple years later. I was 24. He was when I coached Nick, he was I think 15, something like that. They're my best friends, two of my best friends, and I have some other players. A couple years ago at CMU, we graduated 9 guys, and what a special team that was. And matter of fact, I just got a text the other day. One of them's getting married, and I'm meeting with a kid that I coached several years ago. This Saturday, we're going to go have dinner. Met it's just I've been so lucky, and I don't. You can be the greatest coach in the world, George. If you do not have the horses, you're not going to win.
that's right.
You're not going to win. You have to have the players who not only can play, but are special people. I study teams all the time, and coaches and head coaches, and like the old Green Bay Packers or the Steelers of the '70s. You
Hmm.
know, I'm just talking about those, or even the New England Patriots nowadays, or the old Celtics or the old Lakers of the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Sure, they were great players, but there was something special about them, and they listened to their coach. When Pat Riley took over the Lakers in '80 or '81, the player he was going to talk to some reporter, and the entire team walked behind him. This is like the first day of practice. He said, "Oh, you guys can go ahead and start loosening up." And one of the players says, "No, you're our leader. We're following you now."
Hmm.
Who does that? That was a special team. That's why they did what they did. And I've had special teams like that, and special people, and that's why I love doing what I do. And I've had some teams that didn't win that had special people, and to me, that's what it's all about. And if you can have some impact on them, Jim Valvano, I'm sure you heard of Jim Valvano, the NC State coach, and unfortunately, the Jimmy V Cancer Fund.
Right.
Jimmy was a friend of mine who had a ton of impact in my life. He once said that his favorite word in the English dictionary was the word impact. And that's something that's very important to me, to have impact on people, because so many, George, have had impact in my life.
I often say you might never know your entire life what impact you had on someone else.
Right.
Uh, I had Anthony Griggs with me.
Sure. I know Anthony. Yeah.
You know Anthony. Anthony and I talk quite often, but I asked him on the show one night, I said, Anthony, have you ever had anyone come back weeks, months, maybe perhaps years and say, you know something? You said something to me, or you showed me something
Yeah.
that impacted my life. And he said, you know, it's funny that you ask. And he told a story
Yeah.
about it. But that just goes to show what we say and how we lead,
Hmm.
the examples we set,
No question.
it has an impact.
A couple days ago, this one kid, Dan Evans, who I'm meeting this Saturday, he said that my one quote helped him and his fiance through a lot of things. And that quote was, matter of fact, I'll give you the birth of it. Um, a few years ago, our team just got off to a bad start. We had a special group of guys, a great team, but we just got off to a bad start. So I said, look, in order for us to make the playoffs, we have to win. I believe it was 9 games in a row, 9 games in a row. So they're looking at me like 9 games in a row. And I said, the little boy asked the old man, how do you achieve true success in life? And the old man said, by eating an elephant. And the little boy said, well, how do you eat an elephant? And the old man said, one bite at a time. So that particular team, when I said that, whenever we broke the huddle, we would say win, hits, or tartans, right? Which is our team name. They start saying elephants. Now, other teams laughed at us until we beat them. But when they said elephants, I get goosebumps even thinking about it. I said, wow, this is a special team. They could have said, you know what, this Italian guy, what the hell is he talking about elephants, But they didn't. And I also, like I said, I try to tell these guys things that have happened to me in my life. Um, be it in relationships.
Hmm.
Um, I've gotten dogged. I've had girls break up with me. I've had family members nail me. I've had my mom. She passed in my arms. My dad was ill for many years, and how I dealt with that. Um, so I try to get. And if I didn't experience something, then I will give them the best advice I can possibly give them, and try to help them with it, because it's not just all about baseball. You know, um, it just isn't. And like I said, they're going to be husbands and fathers and businessmen a lot longer, and sons than they are baseball players. And just want to give them my experiences, the good and the bad and the ugly. And you try to. I've been fortunate enough that these guys have said, "Hey, you've helped me out," and that means a lot to me.
How did you how did you get involved in boxing? You write articles.
I've written for some boxing websites, and I host a boxing TV show, Pittsburgh's only TV boxing show, and I do some announcing with two fantastic, great guys, Smoking Jim Frazier and Luther Dupree. We do some shows together, and Mike Migliori does the Steel City Sports World show, but the boxing show we do together. And how did I get into it? My parents, from reasoning, the day of reasoning, I remember in this house the name Rocky Marciano, and my mom used to like a guy named Nino Benvenuti. As a matter of fact, I remember in 1969, my grandmother came over from Italy, and the Benvenuti fight was on, and I never seen my mom behave that way before. She went nuts. But Rocky Marciano was my dad's hero. All the Italians loved Rocky Marciano. So obviously, my dad and I would watch fights, and through the years, I've become very good friends with some guys. Vinny Pazienza
Hmm.
is like a brother to me. They just made a movie of his life a couple years ago, Bleed for This. Vinny won 2 world titles. Then after his second world title, he broke his neck. Wasn't supposed to walk. For sure, he wasn't going to fight, but he did fight again. He won 3 more world titles after that. You can go on YouTube and see that they screwed a halo into his head and a body cast, and he wasn't supposed to move. Well, Vinny didn't do that. Vinny's training, and Vinny was a better fighter after the accident. Then another good friend of mine who I love dearly, Donnie Lalonde, is a former light heavyweight champ of the world with a great story. Didn't exactly have a great childhood, and became Canadian light heavyweight champ at age 23, world light heavyweight champ at age 27, and had his big fight against Sugar Ray Leonard, age 28. Then yesterday, as I said, I had Jerry Cooney on, and I got emotional during that interview because of his story. He's a fantastic guy. So, and boxing is, boy, that's one-on-one. Let's see who can do what. And so I've always been attracted to that sport and the stories. And a lot of fighters have had impact in my life, like those guys that I just mentioned.
I can remember as a kid when Muhammad Ali, he was Cassius Clay then.
Sure.
And he was going to fight Sonny Liston.
Yeah.
I can remember in the living room, we had a radio. That's when we only got, I think, 2 stations on our TV. We got the Altoona station and the Johnstown station.
Right.
We wasn't up there yet to get any Pittsburgh stations. But the fight was on radio, and I remember Dad sitting in his chair in the corner, and I sat on the edge of the couch, and we listened. My, oh my, what a night that was. And it came out just as Muhammad said it was.
Sure.
Would be. But this new, I call it this new crazy fandangled thing. These guys get into this
MMA.
Yeah, that cage thing. And they just whomp each other. Has that taken away from boxing? Do you think that has any impact on it?
A couple years ago, me and 2 other guys got into the promotional business side of the MMA, and I lasted 1 fight, and I just, it wasn't my cup of tea. Plus, we lost money, and I'm not into losing money.
Right.
But like speaking to Jerry Cooney last night, or Donnie Lalonde, who's trained, and Vinny, all 3 of those guys have trained fighters. If you listen to them talk, okay, it is such a science. It's not just going in there and slugging away.
Right.
Okay. It's the moving, it's the pivoting, it's the creating your own opening if the opening isn't there, hitting the guy. It is, they say, the sweet science. Now, the MMA, you need courage to go in there and fight. I don't care who you are. Okay. You're going to get hit and busted up. It takes a hell of a man or woman to do that. Is it taking away from boxing? In this world of instant everything, boxing matches can last 1 round or they can last 12.
Right.
Okay. Where MMA and boxing is a feeling out process sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
MMA guys just go in and they start whomping on each other. People like that. They like the savagery. For me, I'm not a fan of it. I give them credit. I give them respect. Is it taking away from boxing? I think it's like this. I think that if you're an MMA fan, you're an MMA fan. If you're a boxing fan, you're a boxing fan. So now the one thing that MMA has done, Dana White and his group, is the marketing of it has been tremendous. One thing that I'm not crazy about with boxing is I mentioned Vinny Paz and his story. Or, on NBC, they used to say, there's this Italian guy, colorful guy out of Providence, Rhode Island. Or on CBS, there's an Italian guy from Youngstown who wants to win the title for his dad, Boom Boom Mancini. Or on CBS, there's this good-looking guy from Canada who had a rough childhood who is now the champion, Donnie Lalonde. There was a story behind these guys, okay? Buster Douglas, I'll tell you a story. February of 1990, he was fighting Mike Tyson. And usually me and my dad watched all the fights together. With this one particular fight, me and my friend Vinny, we went to our friend Tom's house to watch it. And we just didn't expect the fight to go more than 1 round because Tyson was knocking everybody out cold. Then my mom had recently passed, and here's Buster Douglas talking about his mother passing and how he wants to win the belt for her. and he's getting emotional. And all of a sudden, man, Buster's my guy. And I really wanted him to win this fight. Knew he wasn't going to, but really, and every round, he's beat and he wins the fight. There was a story behind it. Now with these pay-per-views, $85 a clip. Now I used to get pay-per-views when they were $20, $25.
Mhm.
Okay. And we watched them, we enjoyed them. But now the fights are $80, $85, maybe $100, something like that's ridiculous. And then what you do is you are losing a fan base. You're losing a fan base. Put the major fights on pay-per-view. That's fine. I wouldn't do $85. Okay. But put the major fights on. But let's introduce these fighters and their stories to the people, because there's something attractive about them that's going to, I like this guy.
Right.
I like him. And that's hurting boxing. But you know what? The arenas are packed. We had a few big fights the past couple of weeks with Deontay Wilder and Ortiz. That stadium or arena was packed. Just last week in Saudi Arabia, Anthony Joshua fought Andy Ruiz Jr. That was packed. So but I just think it'd be better if, and more visual, people would see them more on free TV. You know, we had Wide World of Sports, Sports World, and I forgot what CBS called theirs. But you got to know who these guys were, and that's very important. I'm big on stories, and that should be, the trap, the bait that you reel people in. Like when Donnie Lalonde, again, when I heard his story and the way he said it, and how he would talk about advice to abuse kids. My mom said, "Well, I love this guy," right? And I did too. But you get to know who he is. So that's important.
I remember Friday Night Fights.
Yeah, there you go.
And Gillette used to sponsor it, look sharp, do. I could still hear the song going on and stuff.
Right.
That'd be fun to watch again.
Well, Tuesday night fights, as I said, ABC, CBS, NBC had fights. Tuesday night fights on USA Network. My dad and I never missed. And they had some big fighters on. Larry Holmes, Vinny Paz. They had Lennox. They had all these guys. And then the ESPN, obviously. And that's all great on cable. But then, and I'm good with pay-per-view for the Super Bowl fights, the big matchups. I'm fine with that. But every fight's on pay-per-view now, and not every fight, but it hurts.
Yeah. You mentioned Boom Boom Mancini. I was just talking about him with my wife the other day. Of course, she remembers the name.
Sure.
But I said, I wonder where he's at today. Wonder what he's doing. Do you know if he's still?
Yeah, I know Ray, and he's doing very well. If you look at the Fox Sports Premier Boxing, Premier Boxing, he's the analyst. So he's very visible. He's on just about every fight that the PBC has on TV. Him and Lennox Lewis. So he's doing very well. He's still heavily involved in it as an announcer, as an analyst, a pre-fight show. So if you want to watch him, go to Fox Sports, and you'll see every time there's a fight, Ray's there. So he's doing very well.
Cool. I'm going to have to. Usually, I'm on the air, either on the radio or on here.
Right.
So.
And he moved back to Youngstown, which is exactly an hour from me. He lived in California for years, and he moved back to Youngstown about maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
He was always one of my favorites. I just used to like Boom Boom Mancini.
Well, yeah.
Your radio show, let me put this back up where people can go to Claudio Reilsono. Yeah. .com.
Yeah. And you can also hear it on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. But you can hear it on my website too.
I went there this afternoon and listened to it.
Okay.
You had the Mount Rushmore.
Yes, of quarterbacks. Yes.
The quarterbacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So you're on there how often?
Once a week.
Once a week.
Pretty much once a week. We have 52 shows this year. I have a great producer, Adam Zaloof. He does a great job. And I have, as it says, legends from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I also have roundtable discussions with friends of mine talking about Mount Rushmore quarterbacks. We'll have Mount Rushmore of heavyweights, Mount Rushmore of pitchers and baseball players, and so on and so forth. So it's fun. And it's basically, I wanted guys who, like when I said I had Roman Gabriel on, oh my God, Roman Gabriel, what's he up to? Or like you just said about Mancini,
Right.
What are these guys doing now? Okay. And then the roundtable discussions. I've had my friend, again, Nick Kaplak and Rick Mitchell, spoken Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree, Mike Migliore, guys I do shows with. And like we're talking sports, like just friends talking sports. And it's a lot of fun. And fortunate enough to have some great sponsors in Aspire Pediatric Therapy and Roscoe Hearing and Allergy Care Center and Dreher Physical Therapy Institute. I appreciate their thing. And Lee Davis and Associates, Legends Division Facebook page, which I have a list of guys who are former athletes who are we're up for speaking engagements and appearances. So I have a great group of sponsors, and the show's gone very well. Like I said, just yesterday, interviewed Jerry Cooney, which was great. And I've had Rocky Blyer on, Jim Rooker, Al Oliver, Rennie Stennett, as I said, Roman Gabriel, Vinny Paz, Donnie Lalonde, Vince Papale. They made a movie of Vince's life a few years ago called Invincible, the former Philadelphia Eagle. He's been on. And I've just had a lot of great guys on, and it's been a thrill. And hopefully, I've gotten some great emails about it. It's a little bit of a different show because I know most of these guys. I play golf with them, or I've known them ever since I was a kid. And, like I said, I'm Italian, I'm emotional, and there's been a lot of times that I've gotten emotional on the air, which I don't care. That's just who I am. I'm not going to be fake about it. These guys have had impact on me. And, I care for them, not just as athletes, but as people first. As I said in the outset of the show, good people, good people, good people, and I could tell you stories about these guys and what they've meant to me, and funny stories and, emotional stories. And I share that with the audience.
I'm going to start tuning into that.
That's good. I hope you do.
Because that's the kind of thing that I like personally.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 people sitting around, whether the camera's on or not,
right?
Because there's that familiarity about each other, those things, and you just chat and you just talk, and you just pour your heart out about this, throw your hands up about that, whatever. I'm going to start tuning into that. That sounds.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. And again, what makes the show are the guests. You give them a question and they run with it. And like I said, I'll add some stories, funny stories, or some moments that those guys had impact on my life. Or another thing, I was always into the athletes who, after their career was over, what they did. Chuck Noll used to say, "What you do in," I forgot what, because I say it all the time. Not the real world. He had another term, but anyway, like Greg Norman, for example, he used to say, "I'm number one golfer in the world, but I'm not going to be number one golfer in the world forever. I want to prepare for that moment." And when I've studied guys like that, and I'm doing that as we speak. I mean, I've been very blessed to be at CMU for all these years and Global Scouting Bureau all these years. And the hitting camps and hitting lessons are going great. Everything's going great. But I'm not one of those guys who puts his hand behind his head and his feet up on the desk and say, "Oh man, I got it made." I keep pushing. And I want to be ready for when the day comes that that part of the game isn't there for whatever reason. And so I like to know what these guys did to transition from athletes, their life's work. Chuck Noll used to say, "Get on with your life's work." And like Donnie Lalonde got heavily involved, very successful in real estate. Jerry Cooney was involved in minor league baseball, announcing fights, promoting fights. Now he has a gym in New Jersey. He just wrote a book. Vinny makes a lot of appearances. Vinny's great with fans. He had the movie of his life made. So that always inspired me to get involved in business. Magic Johnson is tremendously successful. Roger Staubach, tremendously successful.
Yes.
And that's something that has always inspired me to do what they did and are doing.
How about television? You have a television show too.
Yes, I co-host a great show called Steel City Sports World, where again Luther Dupree, Smoker Jim Frazier, Mike Migliori, and I we just talk about local sports, obviously, but also sports in general, and that's a ton of fun. That's the quickest hour that I'm a part of, including this show. That's a quick hour of this show so far. That's to your credit. And I also host Ring Talk, Pittsburgh's Ring Talk, where we talk about current boxing bouts that have happened. We make predictions on upcoming matches, and then we'll have something called Legend of the Month, or we'll have a discussion of who was the greatest heavyweight or greatest this, greatest that. It's a lot of fun, and they tease me because for some reason the greatest guys are always, their last name ends in a vowel. Marciano, Graziano, Pazienza, Paz, Mancini. Donnie Lalonde, his name ends in a vowel, but he's not Italian. But it's a lot of fun, and I have great guys to work with. It's a lot of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this tonight as much as I did. It's been a pleasure, Claudio. It has really been a pleasure. Been a lot of fun. And you're right.
My pleasure.
That hour went by fast.
It did. And I appreciate you having me on. And again, I hope your listeners enjoy it and got something out of it. And hopefully they listen to my show on ClaudioReilsono.com. And hopefully it brings back some memories, and it's an entertaining show for them. But I can't thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Wow. And I hope you'll come back again sometime.
You tell me when to come on. I'll be on. I'd like to have you on my show as well. And we'll talk more baseball and introduce my audience to your audience and or to you. And it'll be fun to do. So anytime, I'd love to be on your show again, and we'll have you on my show.
All righty. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. We covered a lot of ground tonight. Baseball, boxing, radio, TV, some culture, some society. I mean, we covered it all.
There you go.
I mean, but there's a whole lot more to cover at a later time and a later date. So,
all right.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Give your love from us to your family.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And our prayers are with you. Go get them, Claudio.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure.
Just go get them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it live until we got booted, kicked off, slapped around, whatever happened to us out there in the cybersphere. But we came back. There's another example, young people. You get knocked out, you get back up. We literally got knocked out, but we came back. And I thank you for staying there with us and waiting for us to get back. I have no idea what happened, but thank you so very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends of Romans and countrymen, thank you for being part of this tonight. And if you know someone that missed it, just tell them to go to the George Espenlaub show page on Facebook, and you can look at it, or go to the George Espenlaub channel on YouTube, and you can watch it over and over and over again. And I hope you'll do that. Well, y'all know when you hear that little tune in the background, it's time for Charlie and I. That's my sidekick over there. He's a mess. I'm just telling you, he's a mess. And he'll tell people that I'm a mess, but we're a mess. What do you expect from the funny farm? I mean, But anyhow, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you're down the street, around the corner, somewhere across America, or around this great big world. I was checking out some things today. Australia, Switzerland, the UK, Ireland, South Africa. Lo and behold, they listen to this menagerie around the world. Wow. We're delighted they do. And they probably a lot of times just shake their head and say, I don't know about that guy. But nonetheless, we sure do appreciate you. All your support, your email, all your kind words. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from here, there, and everywhere. And so tomorrow night, we're going to be on at 5 p.m. because we have a creation scientist with us. One of the top creation scientists in the world. And he will be with us. Ed Temple will be with us. Another man out of Columbus will be with us. And Dr. Hoved will be with us. Hobind, Hoved, a world-renowned scientist. He'll be here, and we'll have a lovely, lovely time. That's at 5 p.m. tomorrow night. We'll be streaming live, so we'll put something up there on the board. Thank you, Claudio, once again.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And ladies and gentlemen, if it's nighttime where you're at, you have a great night. If it's already daytime where you're at, you have a wonderful, wonderful day. But regardless of where you're at and what time it is, until tomorrow, 5 p.m., we'll see you here again. You be kind one to another. Remember that. Do good one to another. And I trust that God will keep you right in the center of his hand. Good night, everybody. And thank you for tuning in.
Can you hear me?
And there we are. Excuse me. Oh, my. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the George Espenlaub Show. And whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world, we're delighted to have you. Tonight, we have a very thrilling show. And we have Mr. Ed Temple, the author of Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation, my good friend. And uh, we're always together, Ed. You know, that together again, you know, that old song. But anyhow, and then we have Mr. Randy Osborne, who is on the road. And he's on the way from Ohio to Pennsylvania. Randy, welcome to the George Espenlaub Show.
Heading to the graduation of a Chinese exchange student in Pittsburgh.
Ed told me that you're going to Carnegie Mellon University.
That's correct. That's where she's graduating from.
I interviewed the head baseball coach of Carnegie Mellon University last night.
Awesome.
My good friend Claudio.
I'll be sure and tell Chichon.
Yes. It's good to have you, Randy. It really
Thank
is.
you, sir. Good to be with you.
Well, Mr. Ed, if you get an answer, you let me know what happened to our doctor.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we will continue. We have Randy is our man on the road.
Man on the road.
Man on the road. He's on the road. Randy, I guess we'll start with you.
Okay, sir.
Can you hear me all right?
I hear you just fine now.
Good. You are a science teacher. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. For 31 years.
Wow. Okay. So you know something about science.
A little bit of this and that.
Let me ask you a question that's been on my mind all day.
Yes, sir.
When you teach science, what grades do you teach?
7 through 12.
Oh, okay. So you got the middle big kids
Yes, sir.
in your classroom. When you teach science, and especially when it comes to in the beginning, how, and I'm not sure I know how to say this, but follow me if you can. When you teach like in the beginning, now
Yes.
we as Christians, we it's the biblical way all the way. What do you face in a classroom, or how do you approach creation in the classroom? Am I making any sense at all, Randy?
You're making lots of sense.
What?
One of the big areas where the Bible, history, and the scientific theories clash is at the beginning. I'm very fortunate in that several years ago, I don't know if you recall, when John Glenn went up as an elderly man into outer space again,
Yes.
Ohio State University took an opportunity to host what they called the Big Bang Conference. So they brought in hundreds and hundreds of people from all over to see their pictures of outer space and hear their professors talk, wax eloquent about the origin of the universe. And when it was over, they went live on the internet with questions. And the first one to receive the microphone was myself. I said, Dr. Mortensen, can you give me a naturalistic explanation for the origin of time, space, matter, or energy? And he got quiet. And then he said, if you ask me another question that hard, I'm going to fall down. Big sympathy from the crowd. They don't have a naturalistic explanation for what they need to get it started. They always start in the middle. They start with a false vacuum, which of course is not a vacuum. There's something in it, and it has the potential to do what you see around you. That makes no sense to start with something, because as any physicist can tell you, neutron decay is a real thing. Neutrons are falling apart, kicking out electrons, turning into protons, And if you look around, you'll see that all of the neutrons have not decayed yet, so the universe is not eternally pre-existent. It had to have a beginning. And even those who say they believe in a Big Bang say that that's the beginning. So we can agree scientifically that there has to be a beginning. I just disagree with them on what that beginning is. So I give them scientific evidence for and against the Big Bang, and the problems are pretty significant when you try and talk about a 14, 15, 16 billion year old universe. There's significant problems. The biggest problems in that area have to do with the age of things. There's not enough helium in the air to have been around for the 4 billion years that they say the Earth has existed. Also, when you look at the rock layers of the Earth, they tend to be not disturbed. One layer, then another layer, then another layer. But if you look at the layers around your home, you'll see that a feature called bioturbation has happened. In other words, the roots have gone down into the layers. The animals have dug holes down through the layers. There's some turbation, there's some mixing, there's some penetrating of the layers, but you don't see that in the layers of the rocks at the Grand Canyon, for example. It's just one smooth layer after another, undisturbed, almost as if nothing had lived on that layer, but it was just laid down underwater very quickly and then cemented in that position. So those kind of things are what I like to show, that there's additional evidence other than the conclusions of men who happen to be atheistic, materialistic, naturalistic individuals trying to make everyone think like them.
Wow. That was some heavy stuff. But Randy, listen,
Yes, sir.
Espenlaub got it. I got it.
Good. There's tons more.
Yes, I know. Oh, man, I'm telling you, it just gives me the goosebumps listening to you talk. Ed, I know you got it, right?
Oh, yeah. I've got it, 100%.
That is fascinating. I mean, wow.
I'm afraid we're in a place in America where we have compromised so much that we're trying not to see the differences between the Word of God and the opinion of men. And compromise has never impressed anyone that I've tried to share God with.
Right.
They don't think compromise shows much commitment, much real faith. Whereas if you actually believe the scriptures as they're written, that tends to get someone's attention and say, oh, this person really believes. That's really different. I even had a situation years ago where I was being observed by a higher up in my school district. And they were going to make a determination, do I get rehired next year or not? Because they do this with all the new teachers in that district. And this person was heavily indoctrinated in evolution, taught at the secular university. I was teaching the curriculum. However, I was comparing evidence for and against evolution in the evolution section of biology. And when they came in, there was a Bible on every desk in the public school. And we compared evolution with what the Bible said, because some people say they're the same. God used evolution to create. So we showed the differences back and forth between the claims of evolution and the claims of the Bible. And I made it clear that science is a knowledge of nature based on human observation, whereas history is a knowledge of the past based on testimony of reliable witnesses. So when it was all over, and it was a 2-hour class, a block class of biology, I didn't know if the supervisor was going to tell me I was fired. Came up to me and said, That was fascinating. I've never heard it put that way. And that's, of course, because the textbooks are chock full of evidence favoring evolution. Anything that doesn't favor evolution is omitted from the textbook, which is a shame, because you can find things in the scientific literature, but you've got to actually work and look for it.
Ed, you ever seen that, Randy? I mean, wow.
Yeah. Well, one thing I know about Mr. Osborne is that he's able to think on his feet, and can't hove in or would be satisfied with what he's explaining.
Wow. Randy, let me ask you this. Ed, if you have anything to say, just jump in there.
You got it.
I was reading the scriptures this morning, my wife and I said, let's go back to Genesis 1:1.
Wow.
In the beginning. And I said, let's read it real slow. You know, I'm a firm believer that the world was created by the spoken word. Final, period, bottom line, time. I believe that when God spoke the word, it happened, just like it happened in Genesis. I've always had a question, and you just tell me if I'm off base or I'm ahead of myself or whatever. Were there dinosaurs on this earth when man was on this earth prior to the flood?
Well, I look at the evidence for that, the answer to that question, and to me it is overwhelming that yes, they were. For example, it's funny you mentioned this because just today someone had a dinosaur image on their purse or their bag that they were carrying, and I said, oh, look at that. And I said, did you ever see that carving in the temple at Angkor Wat over in Cambodia? Carving of what? Well, all of the normal animals that we see today, plus that Stegosaurus. It is amazing to me that anyone with an open mind could look at Angkor Wat Temple, which was built approximately 1200 AD, and see the carvings of the monkeys and the carvings of the birds and the carvings of all the creatures that we see today, plus the carving that's clearly a Stegosaurus, and say, they never saw a Stegosaurus. They couldn't possibly have. They had been extinct for 70 million years before those people carved that. And it just amazes me. Stuff like that. When I went last summer with my wife to a wedding of an exchange student over in Europe, we stopped in Prague, and we also went to Tbilisi in Georgia. In both places, they had statues of St. George killing the dragon. Well, the word dragon is, I believe, what they used to refer to dinosaurs back in the day, because it wasn't until within the last 200 years that the word dinosaur was even invented. So these huge, scary creatures were called dragons. Even the national symbol of China is a dragon. According to some records, the emperor of China used to be pulled, his cart was pulled by a dragon when they would do things like have their parades. And there was a dragon tamer. That was his job. And there's so many references historically that people just say, oh, those poor primitive people, they didn't know what they were saying. They thought there were dragons. Isn't that silly? Ha, ha, ha. Well, when they're from different continents in different languages by trustworthy historians writing these things, I beg to differ. You might not call it a dragon, but they did, and they give descriptions. And like Beowulf, for example, the description was of a creature that walked on its hind legs and had very small front arms. And they said that Beowulf, what it sounds like, is attacked and that he attacked and ripped off the arm, twisted the arm until it ripped, coming in underneath the jaws of this creature. It couldn't bite him. Everyone else tried to fight the creature from a distance. He was called a Mirschlager, a marsh walker. He would come at nighttime when they couldn't see him or hear him. They even hired people to stay up and try and guard against the creature. The soldiers. Literature, yes, but possibly with some history involved also. I just think it's fascinating. I want to do a trip where I actually go to the places where there's artwork and other references to creatures living when people were that were dinosaur-like. Zimbabwe, for example, has petroglyphs, which look like dinosaurs. Why would they draw something that looks like a real dinosaur if they never saw anything to make them think of that? There was even a professor from the University of Chicago who went to Congo to try and find living dinosaurs because when he had met the people of the Congo, they described a creature, and he said, "Oh," and he showed them a textbook, all the different living creatures. No. And then from the description, he went to a dinosaur book, and he pointed to one of the dinosaurs and said, "Yes, that's Makile Mabembe. That's Makile Mabembe." Yes, and found it, but he's gone on several trips to try and find it. So I'm not saying they're still alive, but it's theoretically possible that in some place where there are not a lot of people in close proximity to the creatures, that there could be some alive.
Wow. Ed, that's about 4 times Espenlaub said wow now. When I'm left speechless, that's my favorite word. Wow. Do you have anything to say, Ed, or anything to ask? I mean, that's fascinating.
Like I said, this is one of the reasons Toy Show is because kids need to see, they need to know the whole truth and nothing but the truth, not just a full of learn that a theory that's not really a theory is being taught as a fact, and it's nowhere near a fact.
That's funny. You should say a theory that's not really a theory when the scientists themselves call them theories. And they know the definition of a theory. But here you are, a non-scientist, saying, "Excuse me, sir, that doesn't meet your definition of what you say it is." Theories are supposed to be testable, repeatable, observable, testable. And they're not when it comes to evolution and the Big Bang. So it's just an idea.
It's a religion.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that. Years ago, I was reading the Apostles' Creed, and I got to thinking, but they're trying to teach something totally opposite of this to the kids without any contrary evidence. And I rewrote the Apostles' Creed to what the students were being taught, and I had to title it the Apostate's Creed. Would you like me to read that?
I'd love that.
Okay. I believe in the Big Bang Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Australopithecus, our ape-like ancestor, who was conceived by time and chance, born of a bipedal hominid, suffered under environmental pressure, was mutated by cosmic radiation. He descended toward extinction. The third epoch, he rose again by natural selection. He ascended into Neo-Darwinism, and he sitteth on the right hand of Charles, the grandson of Erasmus. From thence he shall come to judge all scientific thinking. I believe in naturalistic materialism, the omission of alternate theories, the communication of uniformitarianism, the destruction of religion, the punctuation of equilibria, and strife everlasting. Amen.
I'm trying to refrain from saying it, but wow. I'm loving this. I mean, I am loving this. Oh my goodness gracious!
I told you this was the nation's best science teacher. You got to know.
You know, there's many great men of science. It was stunning to me when
Oh Lord, don't let us lose them now.
after time who started that branch of science. You go
Say
to
that all over
astronomy,
again, Coach
you
Mr.
have
Oswald.
Kepler, who was a believer. When you go to atomic theory, you've got John Dalton. When you go to barometry, it's Blaise Pascal. Biogenesis, the law of biogenesis, was Louis Pasteur. These people believed in God. They read their Bibles. Biology and natural history, John Ray. Botany and taxonomy, Carolus Linnaeus. His real name was Carl von Linné, but they Latinized it just like he Latinized the animals' names. Chemistry, Robert Boyle. Nuclear chemistry, Marie Curie. Chemurgy, George Washington Carver. He called his lab God's little workshop. He read his Bible and talked to God every day before he started work. God, show me the secrets of the peanut. And he comes up with 400 products from one peanut. Wow. There's something to this. Conservation of energy, James Joule. Dynamics of the law of gravity, Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton wrote more about the Bible than he wrote about science. And they say today he's still voted as the #1 scientific genius of all time, but they mock the Bible, which he wrote more about than science.
Wow.
Think about that. How do you fit that in the same brain at the same time? Two opposite ideas.
There I go again. Wow.
Electrodynamics, James Clerk Maxwell. Electric power, Michael Faraday. Electronics, Ambrose Fleming. Genetics, Gregor Mendel, a monk. Geology, Neil Steno. Gravity, again, Isaac Newton. Light, Huygens, Christian, Newton. Microscopy, Van Leeuwenhoek. We can go on and on and on, all the way up through thermometry with Gabriel Fahrenheit, Daniel Gabriel Fahrenheit. And these people were believers in a creator. And yet we're told you can't be a scientific thinker if you believe in a creator. Well, that's obviously historically false to the utmost, ridiculously, laughably false. I just like to point out little things like that. Oceanography, Matthew Maury, pathfinder of the seas. He's sick in bed. He says, "Son, read to me out of the Bible." His son reads to him out of the Bible. And the Bible, the verse that he's reading, talks about going through the seas, the paths of the seas. And Maury says, paths? Well, the writer of the Bible is omniscient. He knows everything. God knows everything. So if he says there are paths in the seas, there must be paths in the seas. I will find them. Now, when you look at the ocean, you don't see any paths. But he dropped bottles and put notes in them. And they got places faster sometimes than the ships that were trying to head straight to that place. And he realized that what they were currents, which could move you much faster and stop the spoilage of your produce, your goods, keep people from having scurvy, etc., by taking so long on their trips. And he was the founder of, oceanography, because he said, I believe God, and I will find it. This is one of the cool inspirational things to me, is that God in the scripture says that it's the glory of God to conceal a matter. It's the glory of kings. So glory of God to conceal a matter, glory of kings to seek it out. We should be seeking to find things that we can learn from God's creation. And I like to inspire people to do that.
Wow. There I go again. I'm sorry.
You're okay, brother.
Randy.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this question. I have always been, under the impression that when God created Adam and Eve, he created a full-grown, well-developed man and a woman, both intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. I mean, the whole package. I mean, it would take somebody, excuse me, it would take somebody with some intelligence for God to say, okay, you name the beast of the field.
Ah,
Is that right?
that's absolutely right. And have you ever studied the Hebrew names for animals?
No.
You would find it so fascinating. So when Adam named the animals, he may have been using Hebrew. Um, I'm not sure if there was something before Hebrew, but my guess is it was something like Hebrew. Um, when he named the animals, he would name the giraffe, for example, Longneck, and he would name the skunk Stinker in the Hebrew language. So attributes of the creature are what they were called, and it just makes sense. So you can understand it immediately. You don't have to try and memorize a complicated, weird name that doesn't have any basis in reality, that was just come out of thin air. And it makes sense that he was a very bright person, capable of naming them appropriately. Today, people name animals kind of weird. You know, there's not really a good set way of naming. If we were to discover a new creature, they might name it for their wife, or for their college they came from, or for the country that it was found in. Well, if you name the country, that doesn't make you think of that animal. But the things that Adam named them make you think of the animal. It's really cool.
And I've always been under the impression that when God created Adam and Eve, and before the fall, after the fall, I believe that man has, we say today, or we hear the people say today, we have progressed, we have, with great knowledge, and blah, 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 blah. I believe that after the fall, immediately after the fall, man has decreased. Would I be wrong in thinking that?
You're tremendously right to be thinking that way. One thing after another leads me to that conclusion, not the least of which is to look at the ages of the people in the beginning.
Yes.
Living to 950 years, 700 years, 830 years, etc. That's incredible. So then you think, well, what in the world is different that could make that be so much shorter now? Well, there's a book of genetic diseases of human beings that has about 5,000 mutations, which are things that are destroying our cells' ability to do well the processes of life. So, some people, a normal food becomes a poison to them. And if they keep eating it, they become mentally retarded. And there's just many, many problems when you take a computer program that's as complex as the human DNA and mess with it, whether it's from cosmic radiation, whether it's from nuclear radiation, whether it's from chemicals that you put in your body that you shouldn't have. Regardless of how it happens, it harms the ability of the body to function as God originally made it and intended for it to be. And when Adam and Eve did disobey, I take quite literally the fact that they were cursed, and that curse results in the whole earth being cursed. Now we have difficulties that are harmful to us that used to not be an issue, not to be a problem. Many, many, many things that are just horrible today that didn't used to be. Used to be, you could go pet a lion, but now a lion will probably have you for lunch. That's an issue,
Yeah.
It amazes me that people can think that that death and sickness and cancer, etc., could have existed before man sinned. Some people believe that, that Jesus is a little higher than the apes, that he descended from the monkeys. I can't even fit that in my brain.
Oh.
We're created a little lower than the angels, not a little higher than the apes. And Jesus is a descendant of Adam. I can't even fathom Adam being a descendant of an ape, making God, the creator of the universe, his son being the descendant of an ape. And it doesn't make any sense. Furthermore, the curse brought death. When man disobeyed God, death came to the earth, and now we needed a savior who could pay that death price for us. That was willingly done by Jesus, and he showed that he had the authority and power to do so by raising himself from the dead in 3 days. We've not been able to take a person who's been dead for 3 days and bring them back yet, even though all the chemicals are still there. You've got all the organs still there. Well, what's the matter, Mr. Scientist? Why can't you reanimate this person? They don't know why, but they can't. And for Jesus to do that and to have people who were afraid to be associated with him suddenly turn into fearless representatives of him, willing to lay down their life and die, trusting that he would raise them from the dead just like he had been raised from the dead. Wow, that is being convinced. That's not compromising. That's believing what you say when you risk your life for it.
I see that Dr. Kemp has arrived. Let me type him up.
Awesome.
Good afternoon, sir.
I am so sorry about that. It's been a zoo here, and I completely forgot, but I apologize. Anyway,
That's
I'm very much alive, much to the atheist dismay.
Randy,
Oh boy.
let me say this, Randy.
Yes, sir.
When they say that we descended from the ape, and they're like right proud of it when they say it. Me, I'm just a plain old individual, 71 years old. I take insult to that. You know what I'm saying?
I sure do.
But yet when they say that, they got this gleeful look on their face, and
Well, they're so proud that they've evolved so much higher than the apes. Can't wait to see the next generation.
there's a big difference between them and me. That's for sure. They love it, and I get insulted by it. Don't insult what little bit of intelligence I have.
Okay.
Dr. Hobart, am I saying your name right, Dr. Hobart?
Well, it's Norwegian. Hovind, like the wind is blowing.
Like the wind is blowing. Hovind. Okay.
Hovind.
I got you. Like the wind is blowing. That's cool. Welcome. I appreciate you coming. And I understand that forgetfulness stuff because the only thing I remember is that I forget anymore. But we do welcome you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'll be 67 in 2 weeks. I became a Christian. He gave me reading my Bible.
You're breaking up.
Oh, you said I gave my heart to the Lord when I was 16 and started reading my Bible avidly in the Baptist church. And ended up going off to college. I was ordained to be a Baptist church.
Excuse me, but do you have any earbuds? Because that'll make the difference. Earbuds, earphones.
I'm not real tech savvy on that stuff. Let me see here.
Now you're coming in real good.
One of these things. Let me try it.
Well, that'll work.
No. Anyway, so I ended up teaching high school science and math for 15 years, and moved to Pensacola, Florida in January of '89, and began a ministry called Creation Science Evangelism, defending the Bible as being scientifically accurate. I've done, last night was number 200. I've done 200 debates on the topic of creation versus evolution. So I take the position the Bible's true.
We keep losing you.
Let me try these little things here. See if that'll do better.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and somebody else talk for a minute. I'll see if I can figure it out.
Okay. Randy.
Yes, sir.
So, thinking that man has degressed instead of
Yes, sir.
look at us, we're so smart, so intelligent.
That's not to say that technology has not been added to, because
Yeah.
we're learning from those before us.
I'm glad you said that, because when I get into that vein of thought with my wife of 51 years, she gives me
Wow, congratulations.
she gives me one of these looks like, like I've got two heads, or
Yeah.
I'm being more strange than I usually am. Technology that we have today,
Yes.
I've got to say this because I've got to be honest. I do believe, as you just said, and I don't know exactly how you say it, but I do believe that technology we have today came from back then, somewhere.
Sure.
Am I crazy?
We're learning from our ancestors all the time, and we keep adding to it, improving it. That's what the patent office is all about. If you can make it better, get a new patent, get paid. But what's fascinating to me is when you go to the principles of the things that we use, we're actually copying the creations that God has already made. For example, in your own brain, there are more electrical connections than all of the man-made electrical devices in the world put together in one human brain. So It's not like we're so amazing. We're just trying to catch up to the incredible technology that God has already made that just happens to be alive.
Wow. And Dr. Hobin, like the wind.
Yes, sir. Is that working? Can you hear me now?
I can hear
Very
you
well.
now.
Yeah, my tech guy got me these little ear things, so we're good. Glad it works.
I asked Randy about the technology that we have today, and we was talking about how it's been there, and it's only being improved or duplicated, made better. Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff we have is just copying what God already made, We are way behind what God did.
That's right.
That's wonderful, because Randy just said that before you. Come on, almost the exact same word, wasn't it, Randy?
That's correct.
Wow.
This
Amen.
man knows
Well,
wherever he speaks.
Randy must be a smart guy then, if he knows God made it first and he made it best, and we are a very poor substitute, the stuff man makes or the stuff God makes. But anyway, I was telling you that I became an evangelist teaching on science and the Bible, defend the position that the Bible is correct and evolution theory is dumb and dangerous. It's the most dangerous religion in the history of the world. We teach the kids they're just an animal, and then we sit back and wonder, oh, why are they acting like animals? Look what you're teaching them.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Wow. Go ahead, continue.
Now I see the last name Espenlaub. My mother was Espenes, ESPN. ES from Norway. That's the name of a town over there. Are you Norwegian too, George?
That's a German name. It means shaking leaf.
Shaking leaf. Okay, Espenlaub.
Shaking leaf.
Okay. Anyway, someone gave us property here in Lenox, Alabama. We are straight north of Pensacola, about 70 miles. And I do a lot of videotapes on science and the Bible. And a guy called me 4 years ago. He said, "Can't your videos change my life?" I said, "Well, good. That's what I'm trying to do." He said, "How can I help your ministry?" I said, "Well, we're trying to buy property to build a Christian campground, science center, museum, theme park." He said, "Have you found some?" I said, "Yeah, 140 acres. It's an old gravel pit in Lenox, Alabama. Population 35. But they want $250,000 for it." He said, "All right, I'll buy it." They bought it and gave it to us. I never met the guy. I've still never met the guy. And we have people coming from all over. We have about 500 science lessons that each teach a spiritual lesson also, kind of like Jesus did. Consider the lilies, consider the sparrows. You know, we use science and cool activities that, like a science center has, and we have a spiritual application for everyone. It's really, really cool. Come on down and visit.
Wow. To this day, you've never met that man?
Never met him. He called 6 months ago to our trustee, Ernie, and said, "What else does Kent need around there?" Ernie said he's given 4,000 tours of that place on a four-wheeler, one person at a time. He's a side-by-side. So he bought us a Kawasaki Mule, a six-passenger, which we gave tours on like crazy. He called 2 months ago and said, "Ernie, what else does Kent need?" He said he needs another one of those side-by-side because we're giving so many tours of the place. We bought us a Can-Am, six-passenger. It's amazing. That thing goes 50 to 0 in 1 second when you hit a tree. It's phenomenal. We've had 72 people baptized here. Lots of people get saved. I've been a Baptist preacher for years. And so we just preach the gospel and use science to glorify God, or try to.
Wow. In the beginning, this is where Randy and I and Ed started. In the beginning, God, no doubt, bottom line, period, end of story, God created heaven and earth.
Correct. Now that raises the question of when was the beginning. And if you read the rest of the Bible, it says in Exodus 20 in the 10 Commandments, God wrote on a rock with his own finger in the 10 Commandments and handed it to Moses. In 6 days, the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is. So here's God claiming he made it all in 6 days, which would mean dinosaurs had to live with man. And then you see Jesus saying that the creation of Adam was the beginning. Matthew 19:4 and Matthew 18:6. That if the creation of Adam was the beginning, and you see from Romans 5 and 1 Corinthians 15, nothing died until Adam sinned. Man brought death into the world. According to evolution theory, death brought man into the world. The more death, the better. You know, one animal evolves a little better than the rest of them have to die to make this work. And so death is the hero of the plot in the evolution theory, and death is the villain in the creation story, because God said he made a perfect world and man wrecked it. And if you add up the dates that are found in the Bible, it says Adam was 130 when Seth was born. It's all right in Genesis chapter 5. It could not be more clear. That the dates add up to about 4,000 BC. So according to the Bible, the earth is about 6,000 years old. It's been 2,000 years since Christ. And so that's what the dates teach. That's what the Bible teaches anyway. And I believe that's so. It's not only true, it's provable to be true. You can easily demonstrate this earth cannot possibly be billions of years old. And dinosaurs did not live millions of years ago. But dinosaurs are a great propaganda tool to teach children, because all kids like dinosaurs. They use dinosaurs, and the kids believe the earth is millions of years old before they can even read. I mean, ask a 4-year-old, when did dinosaurs live? He'll say millions of years ago. But using God's own creatures for propaganda purposes, I think it's evil.
Ed?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely evil. I think as a history teacher, it's kind of easy to prove. All you have to do is look no further than Mao, Pol Pot, Stalin, Lenin. Keep going through the list. Hitler, and then, of course, abortion in the United States, if you want to go that route.
Well, I ask atheists all over. Like I said, I've done 200 debates now. I say, if you believe in evolution, how do you tell right from wrong? On any topic, is abortion right or wrong? Well, before we discuss that, I'd like to know, where's your tape measure? How are you deciding? How do you measure right and wrong? Because if evolution is true, there's no such thing as right or wrong. I had one atheist in Canada. I was speaking at a university up there, and I asked him the question. I said, how do you tell right from wrong? He said, that's very easy. He said, I decide what's right and wrong. He said, I'm the God of my own universe. I said, man, I am glad to hear about that, because I am going to shoot you in 5 minutes. He said, you can't do that. I said, well, yeah, why not? I'm the God of my own universe. I decided you ought to get shot. Totally stumped him. Abortion is absolutely murder. There's no kind way to say it. But if evolution is true, what would be wrong with it? Too many people, then the herd.
Right.
But if we're creatures of God, well, then it's absolute murder. It's terrible. So a lot of our social ills, before we can really tackle those, we need to first establish, how do we determine right from wrong? Where's the ruler? And it goes right back to creation, evolution. Is there a God or not? That's the simple solution.
There I go again. Wow. My word, my speechless word. When I can't think of anything else to say, I say, wow. Hi.
Oh,
That's Mackenzie. She's 5.
Hi,
Going on 12.
No, I'm going on 6.
Well, going on 6. Okay. Okay.
Whoa.
there is truth, Dr. Hogan.
Wow. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. We've got about 30 people that live here on our camp. The guy gave us the property, and it was a jungle when we got it. We've been slowly clearing the land, and we have 11 cabins, and people come and stay here for a while. Everything's free. We have 4-wheeler rides and 10 lakes to go fishing, boating. Come on down, visit. We're going to have Christmas Eve service here. Yeah, it's beautiful here, just north of Pensacola, so very similar weather to Pensacola, and lots and lots to do.
I think I might do that, actually.
I'll tell you what, Ed, Randy, you're already on the road, and you're going to Carnegie Mellon.
That's right.
So, Ed, when this is over tonight,
Yeah.
jump in the car, get Tanya and the boys, jump in the car. Randy, just hold on there for a little bit till Ed catches up with you. And
Okay.
Then you all come down here to Delaware, and we'll run down to Alabama together. We'll probably be AWOL from wherever we're supposed to be tomorrow or the next day, but
Might as well.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do when you get a chance to do it, right?
That's quite
It's
an
on my
invitation.
bucket list. It's on my bucket list, that's for sure.
Wow.
Well, Delaware to Alabama on the map only about 6 inches.
So it's not very far when you put it like that. I mean,
Correct.
we could be there in a heartbeat. Woo! Wow.
Yeah.
Till I got that and silly, I had a very good question to ask. Ed, you got anything to ask?
Yeah. I was
Randy,
just I was actually thinking that Mr. Osborne had in early about how he was able to be evaluated and was able to teach a lesson that included contrasting the Bible's version of science versus the typical evolution theory. And Dr. Hovend has also said that public school teachers should be able to teach creation, that they don't need to worry about making a law for it. Did you want to say anything about that?
Absolutely. Teachers, what happened, there has never been a law to say you cannot teach creation in public schools. What happened is several states passed a law that required, and that's the key word, required, that the teachers teach creation. And the court struck it down. The court said, no, you cannot make teaching creation mandatory. And so the ACLU, which is the American Communist Lawyers Union, they ran with that and twisted it and said, aha, you can't teach creation. That's not at all what the courts have ruled. You can't make it mandatory in your state. And so if a teacher wants to teach creation, if they want to teach the Bible, they can. It's always been allowed. There's never been a law against it. But I like to point out to the atheists, I say, guys, neither creation nor evolution can be proven scientifically. The fact is, the world is here, which leaves two choices. Somebody made it, or it made itself. Now, we believe somebody made it. His name is God. Now, which God is it? Allah, Buddha, Jehovah? That's a different set of arguments. But the fact is, there has to be a God of some kind who made this world. You guys believe nobody made the world.
Go ahead. You're good now.
Yeah, you believe it made itself. And you're welcome to believe that. I don't care what you believe. But you can't prove that either. So we cannot prove creation, and you cannot prove evolution. Is everybody being required to pay for your religion to be taught? Because evolution is a religion. It's not any part of science at all. Nobody has ever seen a dog produce a non-dog.
You're breaking up again, Bob.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
But nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. It's just never been seen. No farmer in the world has ever seen any animal produce anything other than its same kind. Exactly what the Bible says 10 times in the first chapter.
Your voice is going again.
Well, I'm just.
What
not.
Ken's talking about right now reflects back to the scriptures where it says he made the creatures to reproduce after their
own
kind.
Yes.
And that's what they don't believe. They don't believe that they reproduce after their kind. They believe that one kind turns into another kind. And the most amazing part of that is the kind that it evolves into somehow magically gets new contraptions, new devices, new abilities that didn't exist before. Well, where'd they come from?
Right.
They came from the DNA. Well, the DNA is information. Well, where does information come from? In the past, all of our experience has shown us that information comes from intelligent sources, not from the random forces of nature eroding things and electricity from lightning hitting something. That doesn't create information. Chemical reactions don't create information. The information, in fact, the scriptures, God is called the Word. In the beginning was the Word, the Logos. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. So information is what we need in the beginning. There's a Dr. Werner Gitt that wrote a book called In the Beginning Information. I recommend it. And Dr. Wilder Smith, who's a triple doctor from the University of Chicago, has some awesome books that are hard to find, but they're outstanding. And he says either matter plus energy produces life over time, or matter plus energy plus information produces life. And then you don't even need the time.
Let me ask you this, Ed and Randy, because you're still in the classroom.
Yes.
And Randy, when you did that contrast thing with that supervisor person there, have you been able to do that periodically in the classroom? And Ed, when you were in the public school system, were you able to do that?
I'll tell you what did happen to me. I got great accolades. My students passed the graduation test at double the rate to the rest of the building, but somehow they decided to move me out of teaching biology so that I was teaching physical science, chemistry, astronomy, other things, not the biology anymore. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's disappointing to me, but some youth pastors and such have had me come in and teach their students, and that's fine. I love to do it, but it's very interesting that you can also represent God in teaching the physical sciences. It doesn't have to be biology for you to notice things that are additional facts that normally aren't taught in the textbooks.
So Ed, were you ever able to do that in the public school system?
Well, let's put it this way. I had all kinds of trouble being a Christian in the public school system just because I was brought to the office, and I put it in the book, but I was brought to the office left and right for things I didn't even know I had done, just mentioning the word God. As a matter of fact, school systems throughout the country right now are doing teaching their teachers that they're only allowed to acknowledge. There's only one religion they're not allowed to acknowledge, and it's Christianity. You're not allowed to give it any kind of credibility at all.
Ed Temple, please report to the principal's office. Ed Temple, please
Yes.
report to the principal's office.
Well, I'd like
They ran me out of there.
I
I'd
like to
remember one thing that Mr. Temple used to do. He would have students go interview other teachers, and they'd take a little tape
About their
recorder
business.
or their pencil and paper, and so he sent some of them my way. And when they ask a question, you're allowed to answer anything. So I did.
Yes, I remember.
Wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Dr. Kent,
I'd
you
like-
were going to say something.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in on that. There's never been a law that says a teacher cannot openly discuss Christianity or the Bible, creation, blood, written in their class. I took biology and physics for 15 years. And the problem is the ACLU will threaten to sue places if the teacher does that. Now, they know they would do it too. The ACLU would do it. They don't care.
Your voice keeps up.
The threat of a lawsuit causes most principals to run scared and say, "Oh, stop teaching creation," even though it's legal. The threat of the lawsuit just to defend yourself is to stop most principals allowing the teacher to do that. So there's a guy who is a genius in legal stuff. He
Your voice is still leaving up.
Okay.
I can try and paraphrase what Dr. Hovind is saying.
Okay.
If someone is teaching about God and the Bible and creation, whether it's in a science class or whatever, the ACLU is looking for opportunities to pounce and to sue and to scare people into not representing the truth. So there's a fear of the school district losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in a lawsuit, for example. So rather than deal with that, they just dismiss people who seem to be doing something that they consider to be wrong, even though it's not illegal.
So
That is-
go ahead, Dr. Kent.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, Paul Hansen would be glad to help with that. You can email him, Paul, J.J. Hansen, Hansen, Paul J.J. Hansen at gmail.com, and he really knows his stuff on how to trip them up with asking them questions. If the principal gives you more time for teaching creation, let's say, or teaching, I go speak in public schools, and I used to think, the Bible says God made the world in 6 days. That's what it says. Is that one little? It is. They don't want to get that.
You know,
Good old Paul.
Here's what came across my mind. Not very big, not a whole lot in, but nonetheless, if there's not a law that says you can't teach creation, biblical creation, then how can they dismiss someone, or is it just
they say it's unconstitutional. You're establishing a religion. But of course, if you ask them, well, now what religion would that be? Since you don't teach Baptist or Lutheran or Methodist or Jewish or whatever, there are many different religions that believe that God created the earth in 6 days, not just the Christian religion, but also Judaism, and then of course you have Islam. So you're not establishing a religion by teaching those things if you teach them.
Well, now, why is the federal government involved in our education system at all?
Good
supposed
question.
That's really the question you have to ask. In this Constitution, the federal government is prohibited from establishing a religion. The teacher has the perfect right to teach what he believes, and evolution is a religion. You have to believe. You have to believe that dogs and mosquitoes are related to mountain ancestors. is not of nothing exploding 13. It's the dumbest religion in the world. And I don't care if people believe that religion, but I do care that we all believe in something that is. It's not science, it's not even common sense. So we do have an established religion in the planet.
We're still having a problem with your audio.
Wait, let me come on the show another time. You guys are not you gotta get it. Better on you. Let's see, find out and come back on the show another time. But I'd love to help you any way I can with creation back into the class. Tell the teachers you can't teach creation, not a problem. Let's do it.
So Randy and Ed,
Yes.
when they say it's not constitutional, and as you explained, Randy, but yet at the same time, there is no law that says you can't. So it comes down to the fact that it's more of an intimidation issue.
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly right. Intimidation, saber rattling, like Goliath trying to scare King David, who had been told by God that you're going to be the king. He'd been anointed. He hadn't served as king yet, so David had all the confidence in the world. You can't tell me I haven't been king yet, and God anointed me to be king, so I'm going to be king.
Right.
Stop bad mouthing my God. I'll feed your body to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. And he did.
You know, when Goliath was out there running his place, to use the modern term, when he was out there running his place, I've always had my eye on the Israeli side, because all those guys, they were hunkered down in the foxholes.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I can hear them throughout the whole line. I ain't going out there. Crazy? I'm not going out there. That dude is big. He's one of the best. You know, it's going down the line. And then you got this little shepherd guy that was there on an errand in the first place. And he said, you know, he must have been amazed when he looked around, because he's still a kid. He looked around, and you can see all these big Israeli soldiers, you know, hunkered down in the hole in great fear and trepidation. There they are. And like you said, God's got his hand on him. Now, I slew the bear and I slew the lion.
That's right. God prepared him.
Now, who does this big dude out here think he is? So he went down and got himself, what was it, 5 stones? Yeah,
That's correct. Only needed 1, but took 5.
Only needed 1. So people have asked over the years, why did he get 5 if he only needed 1? Goliath had 4 brothers. And so he figured, once I take care of this guy, his 4 brothers are going to get awful mad, and I might have to ding them too. So just in case, he got 4 more stones and put them in his pouch. But there he goes out there. And I can't help draw the analogy of today, that there are some people out there like David. And then you look around at the rest of the camp, and they're all hunkered down because of this intimidation thing, this, you know, and I know there's a lot at stake. But I said all that to say this, or to ask this. Do you feel that there is a shifting taking place across the country when it comes to the people of God beginning to stand up, put on the full armor of God, and mount up and march out to say, Goliath, we've had enough of this stuff. We're going to move now in Jesus' name. Does that make any sense?
That makes sense. I hope you're right, brother.
Ed, do you think there's a shift taking place?
I don't think there's any doubt that there's a huge momentum swing. I'll give you an example. In Ohio, they just made it far easier now to get school choice. And believe me, the number one reason why kids want school choice, surveys nationally done, is because parents want their kids to be able to learn about God. So clearly there's a shift.
There's a lady from Pennsylvania. I guess you guys can see that.
Hey.
Yeah. I think every kid should have a Bible to carry and be able to read it. Yes. I see, and Ed, the other night we were going to have Pastor C.K. White, who's literally down the street and around the corner from us.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to be with us, and he had that emergency, and we couldn't go on the air without him. I talked to him early Monday morning, early Tuesday morning, about 8 o'clock Tuesday morning. And just a few moments, because he was, getting ready to get in the classroom and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few moments that I was able to speak, I could see when I was telling him about school choice, the money following the students.
Right.
I could see him light up. I said, Pastor, it's going to take a grassroots movement. And I said, we're on the move. And I said, I want to sit down with you next week, and we're going to jot names of people that you know, other pastors that have Christian schools upstate from us. And we're going to contact. I could see his face light up. I could see the fire, like somebody stoked the fire, and I could see the flame starting to burn. And I thought, yes, that's what we need. That is what we need. And it wasn't anything I said. I believe it's the Spirit of God that quickened his heart and is quickening the other folks around, people that we don't even know of yet. It's going to put this thing up and moving out of the classroom into the streets, like we discussed before, Ed. Wow.
Right.
I'm telling you what, I could keep you guys all night. Randy, you just give me that warm and fuzzy feeling. I mean, from the beginning. My goodness, there's so much more. Randy, will you come back on the show again?
I would love to do it again with you.
Oh my goodness gracious, sakes alive, Aunt Sally. Wow. I mean, I'm just wow. There's that word again. I'm sorry, but I am just so excited and so happy, so thrilled. It's so invigorating to talk. And when you started from the very beginning, I mean, my heart just lit up.
Well, I think that's because you know the Word of God is true.
Yes.
And the Spirit of God lives in you.
Yes. And
Amen.
And it's not hard for people to see that, like you said, when they see someone that won't compromise, that will stand on the Word of God, they know that somebody has got something that's down deep inside in the marrow of their soul, and they want it too. So, wow. Hey, guys, love you both. Randy, you have a safe trip.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate the love, and I love you too.
And if you do get to talk to Claudio, his name is Claudio Reilsono. He's the head baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon. If you do by chance run into him or he's on the campus, you tell him you met Espenlaub. He'll know exactly.
All right.
He'll know exactly who you're talking about. Thank you, brother. God bless you. And tell your family we say thanks for your time and have a safe trip.
Thank you, sir. Keep trusting and serving the Lord.
Yes, sir. Wow.
Praise God.
Ed, tremendous.
Yes, sir.
Tremendous. My goodness gracious. It's wow, and my goodness gracious, Aunt Sally. My wife says, you say that, and you've been saying that for years. Why don't you stop saying it? I said, well, if I've been saying it for years, I guess I just might as well keep on saying it because my goodness gracious, Aunt Sally. Wow. Whew. That That was something, brother. That was
Yeah.
something. Whew.
Yeah, those. Well, let's put it this way: you got Dr. Hovin pretty excited because he said, "Hey, you know what? I know I had some technical difficulties, but I want to come back on." And he's a busy guy, so he's got a show on just about every day. So that's
Yes.
but it also shows that he knows that something's going on great on this show. Obviously, there's a lot of just hearing the word and hearing somebody from the scientific perspective in both these guys' cases that have thoroughly done their home, connect the dots, and allow you to know that, you know what, this Bible is not just a nice story. It's the truth.
Wow. My word will not return unto me void. That's what the scripture says. And when the word of God goes out, it's not coming back empty. When it goes out, just as when he said, let there be, and there was, when that word goes out, it happens. Wow.
Right.
Whew. I got to go get me some coffee. Whoa. Ed, my brother, I appreciate you so very, very much. I believe that God caused us to cross paths. I don't believe it's happenstance or circumstance or any of those other stances. I believe that it was divine. I believe it was ordained of God. I appreciate you. You're a real warrior. You're a good brother. And I'm proud to have you as a friend, my man.
Well, you say all that. How am I going to say anything back after that?
That's all right. I mean it from the depths of my heart. So we're going to go onward and we're going to go upward. Wow. As soon as I get with Pastor White and the gentleman from his church and possibly another lady from his church, I will get up with you and we'll do this thing again. So bless you, brother.
All right. Thank you.
All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, oh, what a delight. What a delight. And the nice thing is that you can come back and you can watch it over and over and over and over. Do this for us. Have a watch party. Because what that watch party does is it sends it out to your feed, to your people that we can't reach, but you can. Have a watch party and play it so it goes out there, and then so they'll play it and you'll go out there. And that's how this whole thing mushrooms out there in the cybersphere or whatever they call it out there. But do that. If you watched it, watch it again and tell somebody that you know didn't watch it to watch it, and then tell them to watch it again because it'll do something to you. It really will. Ed, before I let you go, I was thinking about this morning. Seems like the morning time, my 1/2 brain cell really fires up good. After that, it kind of dims out as the day goes by. But I was thinking about, I was standing out on the deck and I was looking down through the yard and I was thinking about the airwaves and our voices. When we're on the radio or we're live streaming or when we're talking to people just in everyday life, our voice and those vibrations, those waves are going out. Can you imagine how crowded it is out there with everyone talking, whether it's radio, television, or just verbally communicating with one another? That's just an Espenlaub thing, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll leave you with that tonight. But I thank you. Ed, was you able to hear what I said?
I heard you say you're standing on the back of your deck, and that's where my internet cut out.
All right. Here's what I was thinking. I was looking down through the yard, and I was thinking about the airwaves. And be it radio, television, people communicating back and forth with one another, by the way, a telephone, or just verbally speaking with one another. And I thought, man, it's got to be crowded out there because it's 24/7 anymore, And I was thinking, where are they all gone? I mean, what? Every word that I speak goes out somewhere. Every word that you speak goes somewhere. Am I making any
Right.
sense, or is that kind of out there?
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah,
Everything's out there.
everything's out there. Uh, and we're going to give an account of every word. And I always wondered about that. And I think,
Hmm.
but if it's going out there, and he knows the exact number of hairs on our head,
Right.
mine is minus anymore. It's just leaving quickly. So he has to do a daily repeat or a daily recount on my head.
Right.
But if he knows every hair on the number of hairs on every head, then surely he knows every word that we've ever spoken, be it in kindness, be it in anger, be in whatever. And I got to thinking someday we're going to be held accountable for everything that we said. That's just an Espenlaub thing that he had early in the morning. Something struck him. I don't know if it was upside my head or I dropped something on my foot. I don't know, but that was just some early morning things that came to me. I just thought I'd throw that in. It don't cost nobody money. So
That was for free.
that was for free. Brother, we're going to sign off
All right.
by letting Dude come back and earn his keep one more time. And after Dude's done, we'll be done. Thank you, old
All
buddy.
right. Okay.
He just ends it so quick. Tonight at 8 p.m., I'll be back up on radio, strictly radio, 8 p.m. And we'll probably run 3 or 4 shows tonight. And so join me. I'll put something up on the Facebook page like we always do and so on and so forth. But 8 p.m. tonight, we'll be back up on the radio, strictly radio. And I hope to see you in the chat room. Good night, everybody. Good night, Ed.
Take care.
Jingle bells ringing in my ear. Jingle bell, a sound that's oh so dear. Frosty the snowman is all around town. Watch out for reindeers are falling down. We stay up waiting for Santa tonight. He climbs down the chimney at the speed of light, while we're dancing around the Christmas tree, hugging and kissing just you and me. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before, as they walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day. Oh, a Merry Christmas Day. We're chasing snowflakes as they're falling down, and follow Rudolph all across the town. Later we meet under the mistletoe, while Santa's busy saying ho ho ho. We're feeling jolly, eating Christmas cake, and then we go skating on the frozen lake, saying hi to every friendly face, and later we warm up by the fireplace. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before, as they walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day. Merry Christmas Day.
slipping away. So don't let me go, nah, 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 nah. I'm all up in that love haze. So where do we go, nah, nah? Just let me know that I am safe here in your arms. I wanna stay, stay. I'm slipping away. So don't let me go now. Your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, out of control. Oh baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control, out of control. I'm in love. I'm in love. Yeah. I'm slipping away. Yeah. Just like I am dreaming, walking around in this love haze. I wanna stay in this feeling, but let me know that I am safe here in your arms. I wanna stay, stay. I'm slipping away. Oh, so don't let me go now. Your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, out of control. But baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control. Your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control, out of control. Baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control, out of control. I'm in love. I'm in love. Deep in love with you, baby, yeah. 'Cause your love is exceptional. Ooh. It's out of control, out of control. It's out of control, but I love the rush, yeah. Out of control, out of control. Oh, it overflows. Ooh. Your love is exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control. But baby, I love the rush. It overflows. It's out of control. It's exceptional. It fills me up. It's out of control. Baby, I love the rush. Come on, yeah. Out of control. I'm in love.
The Swinging 60s. The Swinging 60s. The Swinging 60s. The Swinging 60s Show with Harry Burt on Spreaker.com.
Hey, this is Harry over here in Ireland. Welcome you to the Swinging 60 Show. Sunday evenings, 2000 hours GMT. I will play Beatles, Kinks, Beach Boys, Carpenters, Elvery Brothers, lots of classic oldies. We have quizzes. We have all things going on here. So Google the Swinging 60 Show. Be heard. Come into the chat room.
You're listening to the George Espenlaub Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. It's a whole lot safer here than it is in your world, I'll guarantee that. Hey, tonight we ran the audio portion of our live stream shows, a couple of them that we did last week. The first one that we ran was the head baseball coach of Carnegie Mellon University out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We were delighted that Claudio Reilsono was able to be with us the other night. What a tremendous, tremendous time we had. It was a lot of fun. We talked baseball, we talked boxing, TV, radio. It was just a lot of fun. It was a delight to have Claudio with us, and we're going to have him come back too at a future date. He is a good guy, and you can see the live stream that we did on Wednesday night. I think it was Wednesday night. If you just go to the George Espenlaub Show on Facebook, the George Espenlaub Show, you can see all of our live videos that we have done in the past several weeks. So you heard them tonight. you can go to the George Espenlaub Show on Facebook and you can see him. The other one that we did was, can these questions be answered? We had Mr. Ed Temple with us, who is a regular with us. We do a regular segment with Ed. He is the author of Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation, a book on school choice and the fact that the money should travel with the kids when they go from one district to another and even to a Christian school. And the school choice movement is picking up steam, gaining momentum across the country. And I'm glad to be a part of that group that is endeavoring to get our politicians, local, state, and federal, involved in school choice. Some of the audio in that particular show that we ran tonight was, what's the word? It was bent. Dr. Hovind, who is in the state of Alabama, he had some technical difficulties with his audio. He had to leave us early, but he's going to come back. The amazing thing is this. Mr. Randy Osborne was on the road. He was traveling from Columbus, Ohio to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the time we did the interview. So he did it while he was on the Ohio Turnpike or the Pennsylvania Turnpike, depending where his location was. So when you heard the sound in the background, that was him driving. So every now and again, for the most part, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. We could hear him. We could understand him. So we had our man on the road, Mr. Randy Osborne. We had Dr. Kent Hovind from Alabama. And then we had Mr. Ed Temple out of Columbus, Ohio, who teaches at the Christian school there. And so we had us quite a crew, and we're going to do it all over again as soon as we can get these fellows rescheduled and grouped up again. But it was a delightful, delightful conversation. And again, you can go to the George Espenlaub Show on Facebook, and you can see the interview there. You can see the participants right there on the screen. So, and we have numerous other ones. So please do that and start a watch party. Push it out there even further. We have great results from these live streaming shows that we're doing, and then we bring the audio up on the radio. Wow, we have had a delightful time again tonight. And yes, I see you, Charlie. Charlie's over there gesturing again. As I said last night on the air, we are in the process of changing some things that will change some other things, that once we get everything changed, we'll be making the big change. And I'm not going to try to explain it tonight. I tried to explain it the other night, and I about drove Charlie crazy. And I probably drove some of our listeners crazy, too. But we're delighted that you're with us, whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. It has been a pleasure. We just love coming on the air. Just love it. And that's all there is to it. So we're just going to play a few more tunes, and then we're going to duck out of here. But tomorrow, Sunday, we will be back on the air again. More than likely, we'll be back on the air tomorrow night, Sunday night, or sometime in the morning or sometime in the afternoon, maybe a combination of all three. You just never know about this bunch around here. When somebody gets the urge to go on the air, it seems like it's contagious, and it just strikes one, and then it just flows to the next one and to the next one. And before you know it, we are all in our proper places, and Charlie hits the proper buttons, and off we go.
There's a heavy weight you've been trying to hold on to, but you can lay it all down with me. 'Cause in the end, I'm just trying to show you you don't need more pain and misery. And baby, 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 you gotta hold on to what we got and give me, give me, give me all of your love, all of your love. Yeah, baby, 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 you gotta hold on to what we got and give me, give me, give me all of your love, all of your love. 'Cause me and you, we got a good thing going. Don't cast it off. Just let this love keep showing. Yeah. You say you're tired and you're growing weary. I'm here to give you everything you need. Your heartaches and pain will all heal with time, girl. Your love is mine if we plant the seed. And baby, 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 you gotta hold on to what we got and give me, give me, give me all of your love, all of your love. Yeah, baby, 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 you gotta hold on to what we got and give me, give me, give me all of your love, all of your love.
Tell me why'd you have to go and drive me so crazy? Now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be without you, baby. Want you all night long, want you all night long. Tell me why'd you have to go and drive me so crazy? Now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be without you, baby. Want you all night long, want you all night long, want you watch all night, 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 watch all night. Tell me why'd you have to go and drive me so crazy? Now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be without you, baby. Want you all night long, want you all night long. Watch all night, watch all night, watch all night, watch all night, watch all night. crazy. Now feeling lost without you, and I just can't be without you, baby. Want you all night long, want you all night long.
Wow. I see you, Charlie. I really do. I see you, Charlie. Charlie is over there doing gestures again. I know exactly what he's saying. There's a song that we played last night, and we played it again tonight. Charlie played it. He puts it in the board. And he wants to play it again, one more time. So, to make Charlie happy, we're going to play this one more time. How many of you out there in the Funny Farm radio studio, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, wants us to play that song? You know that song that Charlie likes so well, one more time? You like that? These people never get tired. They never seem to run out of energy. They just keep going and going and going and going. So, before we leave here, this is the last song that Charlie wants to play one more time to make him happy and to make our crowd happy. So, Charlie, you hit it. You have at it.
Oh, I'm slipping away, so don't let me go. Nah, 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 nah. I'm all up in that love haze. So where do we go now? Nah? Just let me know that I am safe here in your arms. I wanna stay.
Well, I guess it's time to get on out of here tonight. Let's see, we've been on the air for 3 hours and 16 minutes, so it's been a long night. It's been a good night. It's been a very pleasant night. And I trust that you enjoyed it as much as we did, whatever segments that you may have tuned into. Thank you so very, very much from me and the whole gang here at the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. Seriously, we appreciate you taking the time to come in and spend a few moments with us. I hope that we lifted you up. I hope that you were enlightened. And I hope that you were thrilled, for lack of a better word. And I hope that you'll come back again. We'll be back on the air again tomorrow. We're not sure exactly when. Probably tomorrow night. But then that don't mean that we won't pop in during the day or the afternoon or nighttime, all 3 times. But thank you. Whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, somewhere around this great big world, thank you for all of your kind words. Thank you for your emails. Thank you for your support over the years. Push us out there, friends. We need you. We need you to push us out even further. Tell people to tune in to the George Espenlaub Show here on Spreaker.com. Go to our Facebook page, The George Espenlaub Show. Check out the live videos that's available there that we've done, the live streams. I think you'll really enjoy it. Tell people about the radio show. Do all that. Come like our page, follow our page. All those things. We need everybody helping, everybody pushing like you've done over the years. Continue to do so. We've got some great things planned. We just get them together. And I know that we will be delighted and we'll be so appreciative of everything that you've done. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, if it's nighttime where you're at, you have a pleasant night. If it's already daytime, then you have a wonderful, wonderful day. But regardless of where you're at and what time it is, always remember, be kind one to another. Treat each other kindly. And I trust that God will keep you right in the center of his hand. So until next time, this is George Espenlaub saying, good night, everyone.